After careful observation, Long Chun discovered that the stars in the sea of stars looked like a whole, but in fact it was composed of countless star clusters. The smallest star cluster had thousands of stars, and the largest star cluster was simply too numerous to count. Although Long Chun had advanced to the human emperor and possessed the power of the emperor, his physical strength had also been raised to an unprecedented level. Facing the twin-body emperor, he could even fight against the emperor's soldiers with his bare hands. In the eyes of the strong outsiders, this was already an extreme perversion. But in front of the power of the stars, Long Chen's small body was nothing. Even the smallest star power, he could not bear it and would be directly blown up. Now, Long Chun understood that when he summoned the Sea of Stars, the power he attracted was just the aura of the Sea of Stars, not its quality, let alone its original power. After advancing to the human emperor, Long Chun clearly discovered that he had a sea, but only a soup spoon in his hand, and could only use the soup spoon to extract the power of the sea every time. Now the truth is clear, but it is useless to understand it, instead making Long Chun feel a little mentally broken. He couldn't use the true power of such a terrifying sea of stars. For so many years, the so-called star power he used was just the skin of the sea of stars. No, it wasn't even the skin, it was just a hair at most. When Long Chun opened the 8-star battle body, his power would surge wildly. When he felt the changes in the Sea of Stars, Long Chun found that the energy of the Sea of Stars was venting through the 8 stars, and the energy was gushing out to help Long Chun increase his strength. If Long Chun used a spoon to scoop in normal conditions, after opening the 8-star battle body, it was like changing a pot to hold it. On the surface, the pot is much bigger than the spoon, but for the endless Sea of Stars, there is no difference in essence. How can I do this? Long Chun was a little anxious. It was too uncomfortable to live a poor life while guarding a mountain of gold and silver. The power of the star cluster cannot be moved for the time being. We must start with the 8-star battle body. If we want to attract more energy from the Sea of Stars, we need to expand the star gate and open the gate to the maximum. Wait! The star gate! Long Chun suddenly slapped his thigh in excitement. The gates of the gods appear! Long Chun shouted. OM! As Long Chun shouted, his mind flowed, and huge gates stood up in the endless Sea of Stars. Although he summoned them from the Sea of Stars, Long Chun did not dare to act rashly, because each gate contained violent power, which he could not bear at all. After summoning them, Long Chun began to study their trajectories and their connections with each other. Soon Long Chun discovered that they were a whole, connected to each other, and the power of the stars was converted back and forth between them. 8 gates of the gods. Wait! Their positions. Long Chun suddenly had an idea. Open, rest, life, injury, stop, scenery, shock, death. This is the strange gate. Long Chun suddenly shouted, recognizing the positions of the 8 gates of the gods, which were arranged according to the positions of the strange gates. At the same time, Long Chun also noticed that there were fairy patterns composed of stars on the 8 gates of the gods. This fairy text was the original Jili fairy text, but Long Chun could not recognize them all, and only knew the 4 words life, death, shock, and open. But Long Chun knew the positions of the Chiman, and he checked them according to their positions. If they all matched, then even if he didn't know the others, he could guess them. 8 stars, 8 gates. Thunder exploded in Long Chun's mind, and he caught the inspiration in an instant, and countless divine pictures flashed back and forth in his mind. Long Chun slowly closed his eyes and calculated carefully. He sat cross-legged in the void, and the 8 divine gates surrounded him in the middle. This time, Long Chun was no longer trapped in the prison. Now he was the master of the 8 gates. He was trying to control the 8 gates. If it was the power of a single gate with Long Chun's current strength, he could not control it at all and would be blown up. But the 8 gates together, they complemented each other, gave Long Chun an opportunity, and controlling the 8 divine gates at the same time would not be dangerous. Buzz, buzz, buzz. I don't know how long it took. The divine gates around Long Chun slowly opened, and endless star power poured in from the 8 gates. The power of the 8 gates was activated, forming a star vortex. And Long Chun was in the star vortex. His hands slowly formed seals, and the whole person rotated with the vortex. The vortex turned faster and faster, and the breath became stronger and stronger. A few breaths passed. Ugh! Long Chun couldn't hold it anymore, and he vomited directly, and hurriedly closed the power of the 8 gates. After a short rest, Long Chun no longer felt dizzy. He opened the 8 gates again. This time, the vortex appeared again, but Long Chun no longer rotated with the vortex. However, the powerful suction force was about to twist Long Chun into a knot, so Long Chun hurriedly stopped again. After continuous testing and experimentation, Long Chun came to a conclusion that the 8 gates could attract more star power, and it was also safe and controllable. However, Long Chun's current body was still too weak to truly open the power of the 8 gates, and even the most basic form could not be maintained. No, I have to improve my physical strength. Long Chun came to a conclusion that without a strong physical body, it was impossible to withstand the power of the 8 gates, let alone the fusion of the 8 gates and the 8 stars. Long Chun found that after advancing to the human emperor realm, his physical body seemed to have entered an ethereal state. Originally in the heavenly saint realm, it became extremely difficult for Long Chun to increase his strength. But now, Long Chun felt that his upper limit seemed to have become endless. It is said that the human emperor realm is the most precious realm for the human race. In this realm, the human race has the strongest advantage. In the past, Long Chun did not believe it, but now Long Chun believes it. He clearly feels that his body seems to have returned to the Fengming Empire when he just started practicing. His qi, blood, tendons, bones, and veins all seem to have entered a brand new state. As long as there is enough power to stimulate, the body will become stronger rapidly. We must grasp the realm of the human emperor well. This is the greatest benefit left to the human race by the Lord of 9 stars. Long Chun clenched his fists. He must quickly improve the strength of his body. At the very least, he must open the 8 gates. Otherwise, if he encounters a strong man from the 3rd level of the emperor again, he will have to flee in panic. The feeling of a lost dog is not so pleasant. The best way to stimulate the body is to carry weight. This is the most primitive and effective method. However, Long Chun does not have anything particularly heavy on him. He can't just run there carrying a mountain, right? Besides, the weight of a mountain is not much, so he must find something that is terribly heavy. It seems that I have to ask Huayun Commercial Bank for help. After making the decision, Long Chun did not leave immediately, but practiced on the spot for 3 days. 3 days later, the violent aura was released. The power of the emperor soared into the sky, and after advancing to the 1st level of the human emperor, Long Chun left. Long Chun, with a loud bang. Long Chun clenched his palm and crushed the letter in his hand. Her beautiful face was now full of ferocity and cruelty, and her eyes were full of cold, murderous intent. At this moment, she was sitting in the hall. One of her arms had disappeared, and the violent pressure swept the entire hall. "You damned little beast! I must cut you into pieces!" Long Chun's roar resounded throughout the hall. "You should think about how to bear the wrath of the Lord God first." At this moment, a feminine voice came, and then a figure walked out of the gate of the temple. The gate was obviously closed, but the figure walked through the door directly. It was an extremely handsome man with a fair face, a high nose bridge, and a clear cheek contour. He was full of feminine aura, and even his voice was as feminine as a woman. And his eyes, with black spots, were like the eyes of a poisonous snake, full of evil, and looked like a trembling soul. "Lu Xing, are you here to gloat over someone else's misfortune? If so, you can get out." Long Chun looked at the man who was as feminine as a woman and shouted sternly. Lu Xing, also one of the 8 great gods, was also a strong man who survived the Chaos era, and was also a famous and prestigious giant. Lu Xing looked at Long Chun indifferently, with a hint of mockery on his lips. "You woke up first, wasn't it just to be able to make meritorious deeds earlier and get more gifts from Lord God? Now, you are so smart that you pushed the conflict between the 10,000 races and the human race too early, and wanted to implement the plan made by Lord God in advance. As a result, the appearance of Longchen directly broke your plan. Not only that, because of your stupidity, the 10,000 races became wary of our Brahma lineage, and Lord God's plan was delayed because of you. You also instigated some inferior guys, trying to use their power to kill Longchen and make up for the previous mistakes. As a result, not only did you kill those guys, but you also returned in defeat and broken arm. Not only did you lose the face of the Brahma lineage, but you also boosted the momentum of Lingshao Academy. Moreover, the 36 sky-peaking divine mirrors were destroyed by Longchen, and this was the critical moment for the 9-star disciples to overcome the tribulation, and it was also the best time to eliminate them. All of this is because of your stupidity and ignorance, because of your vanity. Get out! Longchen was furious. He struck out with his palm and slapped Lu Xing hard. Lu Xing's figure exploded on the spot. However, that was just a shadow of Lu Xing. The real Lu Xing appeared behind Longchen. He seemed to have expected Longchen's move. He continued, "There are not many forces in this world that Lord God is afraid of, but Lingshao Academy happens to be one of them. Therefore, we have always been very cautious in our attitude towards them and never fight them head-on. But you are so stupid. You knew that Lingshao Academy was behind Longchen, and you knew that Lingshao Academy would not watch Longchen being killed by us, but you still attacked Longchen yourself. Bang! Longchen attacked, and Lu Xing was smashed to pieces again. However, Lu Xing appeared in another place and continued, "You are so stupid that you are hopeless. If I were you, not only would I not attack Longchen, but I would praise him even more. I would even put on a very humble attitude and name him the strongest man of the human race." "Shut up. I, Longchen, do not need you to teach me," Longchen roared. However, Lu Xing ignored her emotions and continued, "By then, we won't need to take action at all. The human race's peerless geniuses will definitely come to Longchen. With Longchen's decisive character, he won't pay attention to those boring challengers. However, the more he refuses to fight, the more people will go to extremes and stimulate him to fight in various ways. At that time, everyone related to him will be threatened, and Longchen will be angry and kill people. There are countless geniuses and monsters in the human race. If they fight with Longchen, either Longchen will be killed or killed by Longchen." Longchen's face was ugly. She didn't want to listen to people's preaching, but Longchen, who lost an arm, had a great loss of the power of origin. She was no longer Lu Xing's opponent and couldn't do anything to him. Although Lu Xing's tone was uncomfortable, his words were irrefutable. She could only choose to continue listening. Lu Xing continued, "If Longchen is killed, his Dragon Blood Legion and his confidant will definitely avenge him, and then there will be bloodshed. If Longchen kills others, the forces behind the killed people will also not give up, and will retaliate crazily, and eventually there will be bloodshed. Not only that, when the title of the first person of the human race appears, not only will the geniuses of the human race come to him, but the geniuses of other races will also come to him." "Are you reminding me? Would you be so kind?" Longchen said coldly. "Although you are a fool, an ambitious and self-righteous fool, you are also a veteran of the 8 great gods." At this point, Longchen suddenly cursed, but Lu Xing ignored her and continued, "One of our 8 great gods has died. The organization is incomplete, and the position is floating." "You mean?" "No, absolutely not." Longchen was shocked when he heard this. Lu Xing sneered, "For Lord Brahma, we are all chess pieces. When the chess pieces lose their function, they will only be thrown away like garbage. And we, who carry so much faith power of Lord Brahma, will not be thrown away, but only recycled." Hearing this, Longchen's face was horrified. Obviously, she didn't think of this at all. Looking at Longchen's expression, Lu Xing's eyes showed a hint of disgust. "I don't want to be recycled because of your stupidity. There are countless genius monsters in the Brahma lineage. They have been poured with endless efforts, and we don't know how much faith power has been gathered. Lord Brahma will definitely not tell us about these, But we should know that as long as the time is right, they will replace us and become the new God. It doesn't matter if they are replaced, but we are afraid of being eliminated. So, have a sense of crisis and don't lie on the credit book of the past all day. In front of Lord God's goal, all useless things will be ruthlessly abandoned. If you don't want to die too quickly and too ugly, think about what I said. Stupid guy. After saying that, Lixing walked through the door and left directly. The whole hall suddenly fell into deathly silence. Crunch, crunch. Long Can's fists were creaking. She hated Long Chun so much that she wanted to kill him at all costs. But even if she killed Long Chun, she still couldn't make up for the losses. When Brahma God woke up, she might be directly recycled, as Lixing said. Now her only chance of survival is to spend her energy on making up for the losses, keeping Long Chun alive, and attracting the conflicts of the human race, and even the conflicts with all the other races. By then, it depends on the situation in the 9 heavens. If it is very beneficial to the Brahma lineage, then she still has a chance of survival. Otherwise, everything will be over. Pass the order down, stop all plans against Long Chun, and notify Longting Commercial Bank to spread the news that Long Chun claims to be the #1 in the human race. Yes. Wait, Long Chun also said a very arrogant sentence. What was it called? By the way, I am invincible under the Emperor, and I will exchange 1 for 1 above the Emperor. Spread it out. Yes. Long Can clenched his fists. Damn Long Chun. If I can't kill you, I will kill you. Achoo. Long Chun sneezed violently. I don't know which wife is thinking about me. Don't worry. When I open the 8 gates, is there any place in the world that I dare not go? Now, he can look down on all the strong men below the 3rd level of the Emperor, but facing the spatial power of the 3rd level of the Emperor, Long Chun really has no tricks. Now, Chen Qinding is also in seclusion. When encountering such an existence, Long Chun has nowhere to run. Before opening the 8 gates, he needs to keep his tail between his legs as much as possible. Soon, Long Chun sensed the breath of the strong. He found a sect and went straight to that sect. In the 9 days, there are endless Tianjiao who cross the tribulation. However, the Tianjiao who did not grab the first wave are either not confident in their own strength or not confident in their own sect. Because the first to cross the tribulation has a huge advantage, this time the tribulation is equivalent to a big reshuffle. The contemporary Tianjiao are all standing on the same starting line. Whoever crosses the tribulation first can be 1 step ahead in realm. Among the same level, the realm difference of 1 level can make a big difference in strength. Moreover, everyone has amazing talents and strong backgrounds. In this state, it is very difficult to overtake. Therefore, once you are left behind, it is easy to be left behind step by step. Therefore, at the beginning of the heavenly tribulation, the strongest geniuses will rush to the first wave to pass the tribulation. However, now it is basically the 3rd wave of strong men who are passing the tribulation. Most of the strong men in this wave are weaker than the previous wave in terms of strength and background. Just after the 1st and 2nd waves of geniuses passed the tribulation, countless forces were secretly inquiring about the intelligence of various races and the movements of various heavens. An explosive news spread throughout the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Long Chun, the name that had just set off a huge wave because of the crazy massacre in the city, once again resounded through the 9 heavens. In the heavenly tribulation, Long Chun killed the top geniuses of various races, used the heavenly tribulation to kill the emperor, and forced the double-body emperor to kneel down and beg for mercy, and put down his words, and as the strongest man of the human race, announced to the world that he would unify the human race with the momentum of plowing the courtyard and sweeping the caves. After unifying the human race, I will declare war on all races. Those who obey me will prosper and those who disobey me will perish. The 9 heavens will be respected and the universe will be the common master. The 9 heavens will be respected and the universe will be the common master? This is too crazy. Are you going to be the master of the 9 heavens? I am invincible under the Emperor. I will change 1 for the 1 above the Emperor. Isn't he afraid that the wind will blow his tongue away? This idiot is too arrogant. He will only anger all races. Then they will join forces to destroy the human race. What does he want to do? Does he really think he is the best in the world? His stupid behavior will only harm the human race. When this news came out, the human race was the first to explode, especially those top-level large and prosperous clans, who were even more angry. If you, Longchen, are willing to be the first bird, just be the first bird. Why do you have to drag the entire human race? Isn't this cheating, people? Originally, everyone could develop secretly, but now it's good. The top forces of the human race will definitely be targeted first. Once the myriad races start a war, they will be the first to be attacked, and they will also be the first to suffer. However, those weak forces, especially the human race that survived the massacre by all races because of Longchen, were extremely excited. In their hearts, Longchen was a godlike existence. When they heard that Longchen wanted to unify the human race, they cheered loudly. If the human race could really be unified and no longer be a pile of scattered sand, why would they fear the butcher knife of all races? In short, when this news came out, the whole world exploded. Among the human race, some people mocked Longchen, some supported Longchen, and some questioned the authenticity of the news. However, when the aliens heard the news, they were furious. A small human race, who had just advanced to the human emperor, was so arrogant that he had no boundaries. Some aliens even directly included Longchen in the must-kill list, and even prepared to send the strong men of the third level of the emperor to kill him. There are also some powerful forces that use Longchen as a whetstone to temper their disciples who are about to come out of retreat. Since Longchen is known as the first person of the young generation of the human race, and his halo is so dazzling, whoever can kill him will have the halo of killing the strongest person of the human race. This temptation is fatal to countless young and passionate youths. However, they are now letting the news spread, just waiting for the disciples to come out of retreat, and then they will meet this ignorant kid. The heavenly tribulation is still continuing, and the 9 heavens ushered in a short period of peace. However, in this peaceful world, undercurrents are surging. When the first wave of tribulation survivors come out of retreat, it will inevitably set off a storm. The sect that Longchen came to was a small sect, with 2 emperors in charge. Outside the sect, the disciples were undergoing tribulation. The thunder force was sizzling, but it was not painful or itchy. For Longchen, it was no different from taking a bath. When Longchen appeared, the group of disciples were startled, and the 2 emperors became nervous all of a sudden. However, when they saw Longchen's face clearly, they couldn't help but be shocked. Lord Longchen. The 2 emperors rushed to Longchen and bowed to him. They were very respectful to Longchen, and their faces were full of excitement. It turned out that this sect had also been attacked by alien races. Seeing that they were about to collapse, everyone was desperate, but the enemy suddenly withdrew. Later, they learned that it was Longchen's crazy slaughter of all races and bloody means that shocked them and scared them away, so that their sect was preserved. When they learned that Longchen was just passing by here and wanted to use the teleportation array here, the 2 emperors hurriedly led Longchen. Knowing that Longchen had arrived, all the strong men in the entire sect, young and old, came. Everyone wanted to see this legendary figure. They also wanted to express their gratitude to this benefactor who had saved them invisibly. If it weren't for Longchen, who knows how many people in the human race would have died under the butcher's knife of all races. For the middle and lower class human race, Longchen was their god. Now seeing Longchen, they were very excited. Seeing so many people coming, Longchen politely greeted everyone and stepped onto the teleportation array. The sect had more than a dozen teleportation arrays, but due to the influence of the heavenly tribulation, only 1 teleportation array could be used. Whoosh! After being teleported, Longchen appeared in an ancient city. Looking around, it was all white. The buildings, walls, and floor tiles in the ancient city were all white. This was Baidi City, one of the 8 great divine cities of the human race, and it was as famous as Lanling City. However, Baidi City was different from Lanling City. There was the industry of Brahma Pill Valley in Baidi City, and they were allowed to preach and recruit disciples here. There are countless divine traditions in Baidi City, which can be said to be flourishing. The Bai family, who controls Baidi City, is the hereditary city lord of the inherited family. They are extremely powerful. Even the Brahma Pill Valley has a cooperative relationship with them. In Baidi City you must abide by the law and not mess around. Wow! This city is a divine weapon of luck. When Long Chun set foot in Baidi City, he couldn't help but be shocked. Name? There was only Long Chun in such a large teleportation array. When Long Chun walked out of the teleportation array, he was stopped by someone. It was a powerful human emperor, but he was a little old and not a new generation of powerful people. This person wore a milky white robe, a jade belt hanging from his waist, and a nameplate hung on the jade belt. The nameplate was engraved with the word, Bai. Seeing Long Chun looking at him, the man suddenly became impatient. He frowned and said with a blank jade plate in his hand, "Speak." Long Chun didn't know the identity of this guy, but it seemed that he should be from Baidi City, so he directly reported his name. Long Chun. The man couldn't help but snorted when he heard Long Chun's name and shook his head. Boring. Click. I saw him holding a carving knife and carving on the jade plate a few times, and Long Chun's name appeared on it. A piece of purple jade. The man handed the jade plate with his name engraved to Long Chun and said coldly, "It's so expensive. Why don't you go and rob it?" A broken jade plate with 2 words engraved on it can be exchanged for a piece of chaos purple jade. Isn't this crazy? The man was immediately furious. Where did you come from, you country bumpkin? You must submit a piece of purple jade to enter Baidi City. This rule has never changed for tens of millions of years. If you can come, come. If you can't, go back to where you came from. Long Chun saw that the man's expression did not seem to be deliberately blackening him. So he was too lazy to talk nonsense and directly submitted a piece of purple jade. There are city rules and city maps in the jade card. Read it carefully. Don't break the city rules, otherwise no one can save you. After receiving the purple jade, the man said coldly. This guy seemed to have a bad temper. Long Chun was too lazy to talk to him. He took the jade card and left. While walking, he immersed his consciousness into the jade card. A detailed map of Baidi City instantly appeared in his mind. As for the so-called city rules, Long Chun was too lazy to even look at it. That thing is reserved for those who stay here for a long time. Long Chun doesn't plan to live here for a long time, so there is nothing to see. Oh my God! Brahma Pill Valley, Huayun Commercial Bank, and Longting Commercial Bank are all here. Long Chun did not expect that all 3 old friends were in Baidi City, and they all had many shops. The funniest thing was that on the busiest street, 3 shops were open side by side, and Huayun Commercial Bank was sandwiched between Pill Valley and Longting Commercial Bank. It's so harmonious. Hehe. Let's go and have a look. Long Chun immediately felt interesting. The owner of Baidi City was so capable that he could get all the mortal enemies together. Baidi City was very large, and it was also a mountain city. Flying was prohibited here, so Long Chun could only walk there on his 2 legs. As he walked towards the city, the road gradually became lively, and Long Chun also saw many strong men who had just passed the tribulation and promoted to the human emperor. Long Chun even saw a strong man who was already the 3rd level of the human emperor, but when he carefully sensed the other party's breath, well, it was purely stimulated by elixirs. The limit of this kind of person is only the human emperor, so he simply broke the jar and used elixirs to quickly improve his realm, just to scare people. Such people usually have amazing backgrounds, but their talents are too poor, and they are useless. When Long Chun entered the busiest street, it was already crowded with people, and countless young strong men who had just advanced to the human emperor realm gathered together. On both sides of the street, countless shops were full. Long Chun took a quick look and immediately understood. Turned out that there were merchants who had already prepared to sell the things that the human emperor realm strong men needed. These things include elixirs, techniques, weapons, armor, talismans, etc., all of which are what the powerful people in the human emperor realm need most. Long Chun found that the disciples here are generally not strong. Logically, with their strength, they should be going through the tribulation now. Later, Long Chen caught a person and asked about it. Then he realized that these people came from all over the place, but they all had very good backgrounds and were very rich. They paid Baidi City a very considerable amount of money, and then, under the protection of Baidi City, they caught up with the first wave of tribulation. When Long Chen heard this, he was stunned. Sure enough, business opportunities are everywhere. With the endless powerful people in front of him, the money collected by Baidi City is probably enough to fill up the treasure house. The person who was asked by Long Chen said very proudly that being able to get the protection of Baidi City is not something that ordinary people can do. Even if you have money, you have to have connections. Long Chen immediately understood that Baidi City is a place that recognizes money but not people. As long as you follow the rules and have money, you can get anything. No wonder it is so prosperous here. The majority of people in Baidi City are human, accounting for about 60%, and the remaining 40% are all foreign races. However, due to the rules here, there will be no direct conflict. At most, they will curse each other and spit at each other. However, the human race occupies the majority here. Once a conflict occurs, the human race is still quite united. If they spit together, the only ones who will suffer are the foreign races. Along the way, Long Chen saw several saliva wars, all of which ended with the victory of the human race. Thinking about it, it can't help but be a little funny. Long Chen went forward and also encountered some powerful beings, but Long Chen's control of breath was very strong, and they could not sense his strength, so Long Chen did not attract their attention. Long Chen held the jade card and searched forward according to the direction. While walking, he checked the target to avoid going wrong. However, as he walked, there were more people in front, and it was very noisy, just like a vegetable market, as if some kind of gathering was going on. Long Chen was still comparing the surrounding buildings. Suddenly, a big hand grabbed Long Chen's arm, and an impatient voice came. "It's already so late. Why are you still wandering around? Get ready." Long Chen was immediately pulled into the crowd by the man. The man who pulled him was a dark-faced man, who was also the newly promoted human emperor, but Long Chen did not recognize him. "Brother, did you recognize the wrong person?" Long Chen was pulled into the crowd by him, and his face was confused. "Stop talking nonsense. Hurry up. It's almost too late." The man ignored Long Chen and pulled him directly to a high platform on the edge of the square. Long Chen then noticed that there seemed to be some kind of activity here. There were many people in front of the high platform. In front of the high platform, there were more than a dozen young men and women in gorgeous clothes, sitting with serious faces. In front of each person, paper and pen were prepared. It seemed that they were testing something, and the atmosphere was actually a bit tense. Long Chen was confused. What was this for? Why was he pulled in a daze? "It's lined up, you're the last one. I tell you, if it weren't for me, all your efforts would have been in vain." The man pushed Long Chen to the end of the line. "Effort?" Long Chen was stunned. He knew I was going to Huayun Commercial Bank? I have to line up to enter Huayun Commercial Bank? I have to take an assessment? Is this crazy? Long Chen couldn't help but mutter. When he came to the end of the line, he was stunned when he saw the people in black robes in the front row. The person in front of Long Chen turned around and glanced at Long Chen, and it was this glance that almost made Long Chen scream. Long Chen almost thought that a mirror appeared in front of him. The man looked exactly like Long Chen. However, upon closer inspection, his eyes were a little small, and his nose was not as high as Long Chen's. Could be seen that his face had been retouched. Long Chen was startled because the man was dressed exactly like him, and most importantly, he got a sword that looked exactly like the Dragon Bone Evil Moon from nowhere. The sword also emitted black air, but the black air was not evil air, but a kind of black steam. Long Chen's face twitched as he saw it. He realized that all the people in front of him were wearing the same clothes as him, had the same hairstyle, and carried the same long sword. When he saw dozens of Long Chen's head was completely confused, and at this moment, everyone walked onto the stage one by one. At this time, thunderous applause broke out from the audience, and some even shouted Long Chen's name. "Come on, what are you looking at?" The Long Chen in front of Long Chen saw that Long Chen did not keep up, and couldn't help but hook his hand. signaling Long Chun to keep up. What the hell is this? Long Chun also wanted to figure out what this group of people wanted to do, so he followed them. As soon as Long Chun stepped onto the stage, the first Long Chun was already holding the dragon bone evil moon and swept across the audience, shouting proudly, "I am invincible below the emperor, and I can trade with anyone above the emperor." As soon as he said this, Long Chun felt his anus tighten and goosebumps fell all over the floor. He had said this before, but that was when he was facing the human emperor of Dan Valley. The original words were, "I am invincible below the human emperor, and I can trade with anyone above the human emperor." At that time, Long Chun did have the strength and dared to say this, but when the human emperor was changed to the emperor, wasn't this bullshit? If a strong man from the third level of the emperor came, Long Chun would have to run away, and he would still be invincible. One for one, what can he trade with? After the first person finished speaking, the second person had already posed and shouted loudly, and then the third, fourth. "I, Long Chun, am the future leader of the human race. All the ways are under my feet, and the mountains and rivers are in my heart. As long as I, Long Chun, am here, all races can only submit to me. When I, Long Chun, rule the world, those who obey me will prosper and those who defy me will perish." At first, Long Chun thought it was just a bunch of boring people messing around, but when he heard these words, his face changed. Even if he was stupid, he could tell that this group of imitators was deliberately trying to draw hatred from him. Many people in the audience came to watch the fun, but as they watched, their faces didn't look good. The words of this group of guys were a provocation to all the strong men, including the human race. Everyone thought it was fun, but when they came over to take a look, they ended up getting slapped in the face. Especially those Long Chuns. Their arrogant words and provocative actions really made people feel overwhelmed, and many people already showed murderous intent. Isn't this trick poisonous enough? Long Chun was secretly angry in his heart, but he endured it. He wanted to see what these guys were trying to do. Soon it was Long Chun's turn. Seeing that everyone else had made moves and said something ruthless, Long Chun directly carried the dragon bone evil moon on his shoulder and said viciously, "Don't let me know who is messing with me. Otherwise I will beat the shit out of you and I will count your steel door as good quality. The show is over. Start scoring." Someone shouted at this time. Long Chun then realized that the people sitting below were there to score them. As a result, after the judges scored, Long Chun finally won the third place in the first Long Chun imitation show. Then the judges commented that Long Chun performed well in all aspects, but there was a problem with the props. The color of the dragon bone evil moon was wrong. Then he was slightly weak in height and too thin, which were all deductions, so he got third place. Long Chun coldly watched the group of people perform. Seeing that Long Chun's face was not very good, these people did not care, because except for the first place who was very proud, the faces of others were not very good. Because only the first place got the Imperial weapon reward, and the second and third place only had a large amount of purple crystals, which was very different from the value of the first place. Soon the event ended. Long Chun followed a group of people off the stage, and then went backstage to receive the award. However, Long Chun saw that even those who did not get a place followed the first place into the backstage. The backstage was a temporary tent. After entering the tent, this group of dragon dust immediately pulled off their wigs, pulled off their cloaks, and handed the dragon bone evil moon behind them to a man. The man carefully sorted these things. When it was Long Chun's turn, seeing Long Chun looking at him stupidly, the man immediately said impatiently, "Hurry up and leave the props, go over there to get the money, and you can get out after getting the money." Long Chun then looked forward, and the so-called first place was taking a space ring from an old man with a satisfied look on his face. Long Chun finally understood that these people were just shills. Rankings and rewards were all bullshit. The real purpose was to ruin his reputation and draw hatred from him. "Are you dead? Take it off quickly." The man saw that Long Chun was not moving and was still looking around. He was furious and reached out to grab Long Chun's collar. Pa! Long Chun slapped him. The man was knocked over by Long Chun and fainted. "Boy, what are you doing?" The old man who was distributing rewards was furious when he saw Long Chun hitting someone. He was an emperor who took a step and appeared in front of Long Chun. As soon as he appeared in front of Long Chun, his eyes blurred and his throat tightened. He was picked up by Long Chun like a chicken. With a boom sound, the tent was blown up, and then Long Chun carried the old man and appeared directly on the platform. At this time, the people outside the platform were slowly dispersing. They had not walked far away. When the shocking change happened here, everyone gathered again. "What are you doing?" Seeing Long Chun holding the old man's throat, the judges in the audience were shocked and angry, and shouted angrily, "Who are you and why do you want to frame Long Chun?" Long Chun shouted, like a thunderous explosion, resounding throughout the mighty city. Everyone who heard the sound was startled and swarmed in the direction of the sound. The old man was shocked by Long Chun at this time, and his 3 souls and 7 spirits were about to be scattered. He was in a daze and said in a daze, "I am from Longting Commercial Bank. We received the pill. Hoo hoo hoo." At this time, the dozen or so emperor-level judges below rushed towards Long Chun like lightning. Buzz! Suddenly, red lightning flashed across the sky, and blood mist filled the sky. The dozen or so emperors were chopped into blood mist by a knife. What? The onlookers were all shocked. This man dared to kill people in Baidi City. Is he crazy? And the dozen or so emperors obviously didn't expect Long Chun to dare to commit crimes here. So when they rushed forward, they didn't even use weapons. Dare to act wild in Baidi City? You are courting death. At this moment, the void twisted, and the terrifying imperial power radiated. The breath of the two-body emperor made people unable to breathe. Buzz! The emperor shouted, and a big hand slapped towards Long Chun. Pa! However, before his hand touched Long Chun's big hand had already slapped him in the face and knocked him to the ground. Bang! Immediately afterwards, Long Chun stepped on the head of the two-body emperor. With a loud bang, the high platform exploded and a huge pit collapsed. Doesn't he know that this is Baidi City? Boy, you are too arrogant. At this moment, more than a dozen figures descended at the same time. All of them were double-bodied emperors. Puff, puff, puff. However, before they could make a move, billions of dragon scales flew, and blood mist filled the sky. These double-bodied emperors were horrified and flew backwards. When they flew backwards, people were shocked to find that these double-bodied emperors were covered with wounds and were almost crushed in an instant. In fact, this was the result of Long Chen's mercy. Otherwise, if Longu Sheiyue attacked with all his strength, none of these people would survive. However, although these people did not die, after the wounds were cut, a large amount of blood was absorbed by the scales. Their faces were as pale as paper, and their breath dropped sharply. Ha! Billions of scales disappeared and were taken back into the chaotic space by Long Chun. Long Chun just wanted to shock them. Who are you? Why did you come to Baidi City to cause trouble? At this moment, an old man in white clothes, wearing a golden crown and with a stern face appeared. When the old man appeared, all the strong men present were shocked. Bai Tianhua, it's Bai Tianhua, the Lord of Baidi City. People recognized the identity of this old man, the Lord of Baidi City, the terrifying existence of the third level of the emperor. When he appeared, the vast pressure made everyone dare not move. Who do you say I am? Long Chun said coldly. Facing the strong man of the third level of the emperor, Long Chun was not panicked at all. He held one person in his hand and stepped on another person. He looked at Bai Tianhua calmly. You are the real Long Chun? Bai Tianhua's pupils suddenly shrank. What? In Baidi City, countless strong men were shocked, and those who had seen the performance before were in disbelief. A group of people pretended to be ghosts, but a real ghost got mixed in. What a irony! Those strong men who pretended to be Long Chun before were trembling with fear. They knew they were in big trouble. This was a man who killed people without blinking an eye. Even if you are the real Long Chun, you can't kill people in my Baidi city, right? Bai Tianhua said coldly after a brief shock. Not only do I want to kill people today, but I also want you to give me an explanation. Long Chun said coldly. Bai Tianhua laughed in anger and said coldly. You came to my Baidi city to kill people, and you asked me to give an explanation. You are so brave. Long Chun said coldly. Let's not talk about my courage first. Let me ask you, as the Lord of Baidi city, you let these people ruin my reputation and maliciously provoke hatred. What do you mean? What a joke. This high platform is rented by Longting business. As long as they have paid the rent and their behavior does not violate the rules of Baidi city, we have no right to ask about other things. Bai Tianhua snorted coldly. Puff! Long Chen's big hand trembled, and the old man from Longting business in his hand was crushed by Long Chun. You! Bai Tianhua was furious. Although the old man from Longting Trading Company was not related to him, Long Chun was clearly embarrassing him by killing someone in front of him, the city lord. Long Chun sneered. Since you have no right to ask, just shut up. I will solve this matter myself. When I am done, I will pay you rent like them. Boy, you are too arrogant. Bai Tianhua was furious. He finally couldn't bear it anymore. He opened his big hand and the pressure of the Emperor's third heaven instantly locked onto Long Chun. Buzz! At this moment, a Chenkuan Ding appeared above Long Chen's head. When the Chenkuan Ding appeared, the whole Baidi city was shaking uneasily. At that moment, Long Chun even felt the fear of Baidi city. When Chenkuan Ding appeared, Bai Tianhua was startled and quickly retracted his pressure. Long Chun immediately smiled. When he learned that Baidi city was a magic weapon, he became fearless. Even if Chenkuan Ding was in seclusion, he didn't need to be afraid. The pressure from Chenkuan Ding alone was enough to scare the other party. Sure enough, Bai Tianhua was afraid, because Baidi cities will told him that they couldn't afford to offend this bronze tripod. The most important thing was that Long Chun was in the city at this time. If he went crazy and destroyed it, the whole city would be ruined, and countless years of foundation would be destroyed. At that time, even if Long Chun was killed, it would be useless. The most important thing was who was Long Chun. If he could kill him at will, Brahma Pill Valley would have killed him long ago. At that moment, Bai Tianhua was in a dilemma. If he took action, he was afraid that Long Chun would fight to the death. If he didn't take action, so many people were watching, and he couldn't get off the stage at all. What should he do? Long Chun held the Chenkuan Ding above his head and looked at Bai Tianhua coldly and said, When I was going through the tribulation that day, a group of rats attacked me and all of them were destroyed in my tribulation. There were also 2 people with the same cultivation as you. One was killed on the spot by the Lord of the War God Hall of Lingshao Academy, and the other had his arm cut off and fled in a hurry. And the person who escaped with the strength of Baidi city, I don't believe you don't know who it is. Bai Tianhua was silent. Baidi city also had its own information system. It was impossible for him not to know about such a big thing as Long Chen's tribulation. He knew clearly that Long Chen had his arm cut off. Because of this, even if Long Chen killed people indiscriminately in Baidi city, he didn't think of killing Long Chun, but only wanted to suppress Long Chun. Long Chun continued, My Lingshao Academy and the Brahma lineage are already at loggerheads. I believe that you don't want to get involved in the dispute between us when the situation is unclear, right? Since you don't want to get involved, why do you allow the Brahma Pill Valley to join forces with the clowns of Longting business to tarnish my reputation? I really didn't know about this matter, Bai Tianhua said. At this time, Bai Tianhua's tone was obviously softer. Just as Long Chun said, Baidi city didn't want to get involved in any disputes. Okay. Since the city lord doesn't know, I don't blame you. Then I will tear down the nest of Brahma Pill Valley and Longting business today. Your Excellency shouldn't stop me, Long Chun asked. Hearing Long Chun say this, Bai Tianhua suddenly felt uncomfortable. This Long Chun was too difficult to deal with. Every move was life-threatening. He knew that he was controlled by Long Chun. Long Chun was deliberately making things difficult for him. If Long Chun smashed the shops of Brahma Pill Valley and Longting business here, how would Baidi City survive in the future? Give me some face, and see if this matter can be resolved peacefully? Bai Tianhua felt his face burning. This was the first time in his life that he had to speak to someone in such a humble manner. But there was no other way. Even Baidi City was afraid of the bronze tripod on Long Chen's head. He was afraid to touch Long Chun at this time. He had already investigated Long Chen's background. Not only did he have the support of Lingshao Academy, but he also had the support of Emperor Mountain and Tianlong Law Domain. He had no grudges against Long Chun, but he didn't want to be used by Brahma Pill Valley. Now he could only lower his posture. At the same time, he was secretly cursing in his heart. Brahma Pill Valley and Longting business had done a lot of harm to people. If it weren't for them, how could he, the dignified city lord, speak in a low voice to a little human emperor? Seeing Bai Tianhua bow his head, Long Chun was immediately happy. It was good to have a background. He could also taste the taste of being bullied by others. Long Chun nodded and said, "Since the city lord has spoken, I must give him face. How about this? Let them two families collect 3,000 kilograms of 9 heavens void brilliant silver for me." Although Bai Tianhua knew that Long Chun would most likely ask for a high price, when he heard the name of void brilliant silver, his face still sank. "Why don't you go and rob it?" "Okay, I'll go grab it right away. Thank you, Lord City Lord, for your help." When Long Chun heard Bai Tianhua's words, he rushed to the shop where Brahma Pill Valley and Longting business were located. What a joke. You, Baidi City, a shabby brand, dared to accept a purple jade from me. This is equivalent to selling me pig hair for the price of half a pig. Do you think I'm being shabby? Wait. Bai Tianhua was immediately entangled. This Long Chun was too difficult to deal with. The 9 heavens void brilliant silver was produced in the gap between the 9 heavens space. Among the divine materials of the Emperor's weapons, it is the top existence and is very difficult to find and mine. The 9 heavens void brilliant silver is a divine material used to carve counterweight runes. The magical thing is that the counterweight runes carved with it only consume 1 coin of 9 heavens void brilliant silver, but it can increase the weight of the divine weapon by 10,000 kilograms. Usually, the transaction of 9 heavens void brilliant silver is also based on money as the unit of weight, because it is too precious and ordinary people can't afford it. And Long Chun opened his mouth and asked for 3,000 kilograms. This is clearly asking for something difficult. Bai Tianhua said, "Long Chun, how about we find a place to sit down and have a good talk?" Long Chun shook his head and said, "My time is very precious, and I don't have so much time to waste. Lord City Lord, they were the ones who plotted against me first, and you are helping them weigh the pros and cons. It seems that in your heart you are still more afraid of them. In this case, you don't have to make things difficult for yourself. I will give you a face. I only smashed their shops to vent my anger, and I won't damage Baidi City. I was also forced to do so. If I don't do it ruthlessly, they will think that I, Long Chun, am easy to bully. In the future, all major cities will repeat today's disgusting things. I, Long Chun, am not a good man or a believer, and I don't have the so-called tolerance. I like to repay teeth with teeth and blood with blood. So, Lord City Lord, don't force me. If they can't raise 3,000 kilograms of 9 heavens starry sky brilliant silver within 1 stick of incense, I will take action immediately. By then, whoever stops me will be my enemy, Long Chun." At the end of the conversation, Long Chen's face turned cold and his tone was firm, and he would not allow for bargaining. Bai Tianhua also saw that Long Chun was not a good person to talk to. Moreover, he had also heard about Long Chen's methods. This guy could do anything. Bai Tianhua's figure flashed and disappeared. Long Chun ignored him and took out a stick of incense and waved his hand. The incense pierced through the void and inserted into the top of a building. It was instantly ignited and began to burn. Long Chen's action made countless people gasp. The incense was just an ordinary incense, which would break if touched lightly. But with Long Chen's wave, it directly pierced the defense array of the building. The control of this power has reached an incredible level. The incense was lit, and Long Chun sat cross-legged in the void, closed his eyes, and began to meditate. At that moment the whole audience was dead silent. Everyone looked at this existence that was feared by all races and was known as the first person of the young generation of the human race. And they were all in awe. Before, some alien warriors were angered by the actions of those Long Chens. Now they know that those fake Long Chens are just a means for Brahma Pill Valley to kill people with borrowed knives. The real Long Chun appeared. The sense of oppression and the courage to look down on the world and the 9 heavens made people feel awe from the depths of their souls. Facing Bai Tianhua, who was at the 3rd level of the emperor, Long Chun did not give in at all. Now he seems to have the qualifications to sit on an equal footing with this level of warriors. In his hands and feet, he showed the demeanor of a king. This is a real master. When countless human warriors knew that Long Chen's true self had come, they had already opened the image jade. He really wanted to know who would give in the game between Long Chun and Bai Tianhua. Long Chun is not only powerful and has unlimited potential, but he is also the youngest dean in the history of Lingshao Academy. At the same time, he has received the full support of Tianlong Law Domain and Emperor Mountain. Bai Tianhua has to make a choice between Long Chun and Brahma Pill Valley. What will he do in the end? Will a shocking battle break out in Baidi City today? For a moment, everyone in Baidi City was nervous. At the same time, they felt excited. Everyone wanted to know the result. In Baidi City, countless clans and races spread the news here. In fact, this was also the result that Long Chun wanted. The trick of Brahma Pill Valley to kill 3 warriors with 2 peaches was too vicious and almost unsolvable. This kind of flattery would cause the jealousy of countless people. Let alone other races, there are countless people in the human race who would fight with Long Chun for the title of the first. The human race is the smartest race among all races, but there are not a few people who are too arrogant. If there is one greenhead in 100 people, there is no telling how many people will appear with such a large base of the human race. Long Chun will be annoyed to death by them. To crack the conspiracy of Brahma Pill Valley, it is to make this matter a big deal and let everyone know from the beginning so as to disintegrate the other party's conspiracy. Although this disintegration can only achieve partial results, Long Chun has tried his best. As for those who are determined to die, Long Chun can only use the Dragon Bone Evil Moon in his hand to fulfill their dreams. Time passed bit by bit, and finally, the incense stick burned to the end, and the ashes fell from the sky. OM. Long Chun said nothing, and stepped across the distance of thousands of miles. The Dragon Bone Evil Moon's divine light was bright, and the fierce murderous aura pierced through the sky, and fiercely chopped down a magnificent store on the most prosperous street. The remnant moon shocks the sky, Long Chun shouted in his heart, and above the Dragon Bone Evil Moon, endless stars lit up, and he chopped down the galaxy with a knife, and the murderous intent soared to the sky. No one expected that Long Chun was unwilling to wait for a moment, and the first move was the most fierce and decisive kill, causing countless people to exclaim, "Wait a minute!" At this time, Bai Tianhua's voice came, and Bai Tianhua's figure appeared. He held up a space shield with one hand and blocked in front of Long Chun. Bang! There was a loud bang, and Long Chun flew backwards, but what shocked everyone was that endless space fragments were flying, and the space shield condensed by Bai Tianhua was chopped and exploded by Long Chun's knife. Long Chun was shocked and his blood was boiling. He looked at Bai Tianhua coldly. He knew that Bai Tianhua wanted to test Long Chun's weight and teach him a lesson to save his face. Long Chun also wanted to test how big the gap was between him and the Emperor of the Third Heaven. However, after this attack, Long Chun and Bai Tianhua were secretly shocked. Although Long Chun did not summon the Star War body with this knife, the star power in his dantian flowed wildly without reservation, and he still could not hurt the opponent at all. At this time, Long Chun thought of Yu Zifeng. It seems that his destructive power is still far inferior to Yu Zifeng. Bai Tianhua was also shocked. He wanted to deliberately make Long Chun suffer a little, at least to make Long Chun spit out some blood. But he didn't expect that Long Chun's knife was so powerful that it directly shattered his space shield. People looked at the flying space fragments in the sky, and their hearts were pounding. This Long Chen was really against the sky. "This is what you want." Bai Tianhua gritted his teeth and threw a ring to Long Chen with a painful face. Long Chen took the ring, and after seeing what was inside, a satisfied smile appeared on his lips. Long Chen scanned the whole audience and shouted loudly, "Brahma Pill Valley wants to flatter me to death. I believe that anyone with a little bit of brains will not be fooled. Saying this does not mean that I am afraid of anyone. I just want to tell everyone that I, Long Chen, am the worst enemy, but also the best friend. As for whether it is an enemy or a friend, the initiative is in your hands and we will meet again in the future." After Long Chen finished speaking, he took the teleportation array and disappeared. As soon as Long Chen left, this explosive news spread quickly. "I just don't know if Long Chen will be angry to death after hearing this news. Baidi City is one of the 8 great divine cities of the human race. Every move here will be watched by countless forces." Long Chen was furious and killed people in Baidi City. He also wanted Baidi City to give him an explanation. He extorted 3,000 kilograms of 9 heavens void brilliant silver. Longting Business and Brahma Pill Valley didn't even dare to fart. This news was an astonishing news in the 9 heavens. This news spread at a very fast speed. Of course, Huayun Business was behind the scenes to fuel the flames. Long Chen saw through Brahma Pill Valley's tricks and directly fought back violently. In this way, everyone knew that Brahma Pill Valley was flattering Long Chen and wanted to kill someone with a borrowed knife. If there were a city that allowed the incident in Baidi City to happen again, it would be equivalent to falling to Brahma Pill Valley. Baidi City was extorted 3,000 kilograms of 9 heavens void brilliant silver by Long Chen. If it was other cities, wouldn't they be extorted by Long Chen to the point of having nothing left? At that moment, anyone with a little bit of brains could see that Long Chen's background was very terrifying. Otherwise Baidi City would not swallow this breath. However, from Bai Tianhua's expression, it can be seen that he also has a share of the 3,000 kilograms of void brilliant silver. Otherwise he would not be so painful. As for whether he can get it from Brahma Pill Valley in the later stage, no one knows. As powerful as Brahma Pill Valley is unwilling to confront Long Chen head-on, and instead use underhanded tactics. If anyone takes the lead at this time, then he is seriously ill. Praising to death is almost an unsolvable underhanded tactic, but Long Chen used this way of counterattack to expose the purpose of Pill Valley, which is also the most effective response. At least, this can make those hot-headed guys calm down a little and stop being used as a gun by others. When they die, they don't know how they died. Long Chen got a full 3,000 kilograms of void brilliant silver, and his mouth was almost grinning to his ears. It was really like someone gave him a pillow when he was dozing off. Originally, Long Chen was worried whether Huayun Commercial Bank had so much void brilliant silver. Even if it did, it would probably have to clear the inventory of several branches. On the one hand, this thing is too expensive. Long Chen doesn't have many valuable things to pledge. Although he can buy on credit with his status, they are doing business, not charity, and Long Chen doesn't want to take advantage of them. On the other hand, it may take too much time to collect these materials, and Long Chen doesn't have that much time to wait. If it weren't for that mysterious voice that assigned this task to Long Chen would not even pay attention to that voice when he thought of the countless 9-star descendants dying every day. The last time he went to Emperor Mountain, he had already received news about his mother and knew that his mother was in crisis. Now that he has advanced to the human emperor, he must solve the crisis on his mother's side first. However, before looking for the target, he must first open the power of the 8 gates. You must know that even his father can't solve the crisis on his mother's side. If he doesn't have enough strength, it will be useless to go. And to open the power of the 8 gates, you must first improve your physical body to be able to withstand the power of the 8 gates. One link after another, Long Chen must first solve the problem of his own physical body. Originally, Long Chen thought that asking Huayun Commercial Bank for help to raise void brilliant silver would take at least several days. But in the end, it came without any effort. After leaving Baidi City, Long Chen went straight to a place called the Weapon Refining Sect and asked them to help him make a set of arm guards and leg guards. The Weapon Refining Sect is not actually a sect, but a name just like a beef noodle restaurant. There are hundreds of thousands of places with this name in 9 days. When Long Chun came up, the strong men of the weapon refining sect immediately recognized Long Chun, and even the ancestors were alarmed. Because this sect was also the beneficiary of Long Chen's bloody massacre, they were grateful to Long Chun from the bottom of their hearts. When they learned that Long Chun wanted to make arm guards and leg guards, the ancestor personally opened the furnace and tailored them for Long Chun. In fact, Long Chun did not have high requirements for the arm guards and leg guards, otherwise he would have gone back to find Guoran to make them. After all, apart from the weight, there were almost no requirements. To engrave the gravity rune, a senior casting master was enough, but the ancestor was not at ease and still made them for Long Chun himself. When he saw the full 3,000 kilograms of void brilliant silver, the ancestor's eyes almost fell out. When he learned that the 3,000 kilograms of void brilliant silver would be added to the 2 arm guards and 2 leg guards, he couldn't believe his ears. However, he didn't ask much and personally designed a style, that is, the arm guards and leg guards were merged from 8 silver bars. The 8 silver bars are linked to each other by formations. They can be opened one by one or several at a time. The gravity rune can be adjusted by itself according to your needs. Moreover, in order to create the strongest arm and leg guards for Long Chun, the old ancestor secretly added the imperial materials passed down from his ancestors. He thought he was very secretive, but in fact, he could not hide it from Long Chen's eyes at all. However, Long Chun did not say anything and pretended to know nothing. In half a day, the silver shining arm and leg guards were completed. Gravity runes overlapped on them. Thousands of gravity runes were superimposed on the places the size of rice grains. 8 silver bars were woven together by golden silk threads. When the arm was inserted, it would automatically form the most comfortable wearing method according to the thickness of the arm. When Long Chun saw the finished product, he could not help but praise it again and again. The old ancestor was the old ancestor. This work was done so beautifully without any flaws. After teaching Long Chun how to use it, the old ancestor warned, "Dean Long Chun, be careful when opening the gravity rune. The gravity rune of each silver bar can be opened according to the proportion. Never open all the gravity runes of the entire silver bar at once. Otherwise even a mountain will be crushed, and the flesh and blood body cannot bear it at all." Long Chun directly put on the arm guards and leg guards. Under the clothes, nothing can be seen from the outside. Because it is mainly gravity runes, even the breath of the imperial weapon will not overflow. Can be said that it is perfect. After thanking the old ancestor again, Long Chun left gracefully. When Long Chun left, a disciple came forward and handed over a space ring and said, "Old ancestor, when you were making protective gear, Lord Long Chun gave me something and said that I should give it to you after he left." The old ancestor immediately felt bad and hurriedly opened the space ring, and found that there were mountains of elixirs inside. And seeing the grades of those elixirs, the worst one is also a top-grade elixir. The value is inestimable. Pah! The old ancestor slapped the disciple and cursed. "You idiot! Our lives were given by Lord Long Chun. How can you accept his things?" The old ancestor knew that Long Chun was a peerless genius and would never have any intersection with people like them in this life. Being able to make something for Long Chun was their only chance to repay the favor. But the disciple was stupid and didn't think so much. He just did whatever Long Chun told him to do. "Lord Long Chun, how can you let us repay such a kindness?" Looking at the endless top-grade elixirs in the space ring, the old ancestor couldn't help but mutter to himself. With a loud bang, Long Chun, who was flying in the air, suddenly fell straight down from the air, smashing a mountain. Pah! Long Chun spit out the sand in his mouth and looked at the arm guard in shock. He just activated the gravity rune on a silver bar, and it was like a mosquito with a lead ball tied to it, falling directly down. Fortunately, Long Chun released the gravity rune in time, otherwise it would have been smashed into the ground. "Good boy! This thing is too good." The weight was much more terrifying than Long Chun expected, and Long Chun couldn't help but be ecstatic. "Ha!" Long Chun activated 1/10 of the rune on a silver bar, and Long Chen's arm drooped suddenly, But this time, Long Chun withstood it. I overestimated myself. 1/10 of the weight was like a scholar who was powerless, carrying a full bucket of water. It was impossible to stretch it flat with the strength of his arms alone. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Long Chen's arm guard and leg guard lit up at the same time, and Long Chun suddenly sank, and the ground under his feet exploded. If it weren't for the burst of Long Chen's blood and chi, he would have smashed into the ground again. Feeling the amazing weight on his arms and calves, Long Chun was immediately excited. With such a divine weapon to assist, why worry about the rapid growth of physical strength? Boom, boom, boom. Long Chun walked forward all the way, stepping on the void, but with every step he took, the void was shaking constantly, and the mountains were shaking. Long Chun had tried his best to control his strength and handle it with care, but the arm and leg guards were too heavy, which was already his limit. After only walking for an incense stick of time, Long Chen's hands and legs were sore, and he had to turn off the gravity rune. When the gravity rune was turned off, Long Chun suddenly felt his blood and chi surging wildly and flowing wildly in his body. As Long Chun expected, after advancing to the human queen, his body entered a whole new realm. The terrifying gravity stimulation made his flesh and blood power grow rapidly. His blood and chi were solidifying, his body was strengthening, and his foundation was being consolidated. The human emperor is a magical realm. The Lord of 9 Stars changed the cultivation system with his heaven-defying power and bound all races. In the realm of the human emperor, the human race benefits the most, and Long Chun fully realizes this. At this moment, he seemed to have completed a nirvana, and was flying forward with a brand new attitude and a brand new starting point. The long-lost surge of power appeared again. It lasted for an incense stick of time. Under the stimulation of gravity, the strength of the flesh had obvious changes. The power of the 3 bloods seemed to be stimulated by gravity. Long Chun did not need to drive them. With the help of gravity, they began to transform themselves. Long Chun also found that his chi, blood, tendons, bones, veins and other powers were growing in a balanced manner, and he did not need to do anything at all. Most importantly, Long Chun found that the supreme bone in his chest was slightly sore and numb, and it began to spread to the whole body with it as the center. However, the feeling was extremely slight. If you don't sense it carefully, it is difficult to notice it, and it does not affect his practice. However, after observing carefully for a long time, Long Chun did not find any special changes in the supreme bone, so he ignored it. After a good rest, he activated the gravity rune again. This time it was much easier than the last time. Hoo. Long Chun could even jog all the way until he was out of breath and his heart was about to jump out of his throat. Only then did Long Chun stop to rest. Because it was the most basic practice, Long Chun had to practice in the most primitive and clumsy way, without taking shortcuts. Only in this way could he stimulate his body most effectively. Sure enough, after resting, Long Chun's physical strength increased again, and he felt that his wrist guards and leg guards were much lighter. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Long Chun began to punch and kick, and he could barely do it. However, Long Chun's punch and kick speed was very slow, and he did not use external force but internal strength. It was meaningless for Long Chun to exert force externally, and the flow of internal strength would maximize the stimulation of gravity on the body. As a result, after swinging a few times, Long Chun was sweating profusely and had to stop. However, these few swings were more stimulating than Long Chun's crazy running. When the gravity field was removed, the blood and chi in Long Chun's body were like a volcanic eruption, running rapidly in the body. If it was an ordinary person, the meridians would burst instantly under such a rapid impact. But Long Chun's meridians were very resilient. Under the crazy stimulation of blood and chi, the meridians kept contracting. While becoming stronger, they also transported the power of blood and chi to the tendons and bones, and the whole body was strengthened. I found a treasure. I'm so smart. Seeing that gravity stimulated the body so much, the effect was countless times better than he expected. Long Chun couldn't help but shout excitedly. Hoo. After a short rest, Long Chen began to practice. This time, his physical strength increased a lot. With this experience, Long Chen began to practice with dark energy. A day and a night passed. When he swung his fist, the void kept trembling. It was faintly visible that a wave slowly radiated from the fist. This wave looked very soft, but it contained a terrifying power. If there was anything blocking it, it would be directly crushed into powder. Compared to a day ago, my physical strength is at least 3 times stronger. This is amazing. Long Chen waved his arms. 1/10 of the gravity rune was no pressure for him. However, Long Chen did not challenge more gravity runes. He wanted to make a comparison so that he could know exactly how much he had improved. With 3 times the physical strength, it seems that I can try to open the 8 gates. Long Chen directly summoned the Sea of Stars. When the Sea of Stars appeared, Long Chen gritted his teeth and formed seals with his hands. 8 gates open. Boom! With Long Chen's shout, the 8 divine gates opened, and the divine gates appeared, and 8 divine lights shone on Long Chen at the same time. Not good. Long Chen's face suddenly changed drastically, and he dispersed the 8 divine gates. Puff! Long Chen's blood spurted wildly, and he was shocked to find that cracks had appeared all over his body. At the moment when the divine light of the 8 gates shone on him, Long Chen felt a force that was enough to crush him thousands of times. The divine light was just a channel, and the power of the stars would flow into his body along the channel. When the divine light came to his body, Long Chen began to retract the divine gates. If he retracted it a little slower, Long Chen would be directly crushed by the star power gushing out of the 8 gates. Long Chen was so scared that his face turned pale, and he gasped heavily. The feeling of being on the verge of death. It was too fucking exciting. However, this time it is impossible to open the 8 gates in a short time. If the ordinary 8-star combat body is like using a basin to scoop water, then opening the 8 gates is like releasing a flood. This step is too big. I can't wait any longer. Let's go to Emperor Mountain first. Long Chen began to adjust the rune on a silver bar on his arm guard to 30%, summoned a golden crow as a mount, and practiced while hurrying on the road. Even when entering the city, he was dancing and not wasting any time, which attracted countless people's attention. When they saw Long Chen's appearance clearly, many people were shocked, and then they showed contempt one by one. Young people nowadays are crazy. A Long Chen. Is it worth so many people to imitate? Imitate if you want to imitate. This posture is obviously obsessed. Don't know how to practice well? Just talk nonsense all day long. The human race is finished. Long Chen ignored the strange looks of those strong men and their sarcasm, and practiced while moving forward. When he came to the teleportation array, Long Chen had to turn off the gravity rune. Because this terrifying gravity rune will affect the power of space, making it impossible to teleport. And Long Chen just took the opportunity to take a rest. After the teleportation, Long Chen will rush to the next city. There are too many people who have passed. The tribulation, not all teleportation arrays can be used, and not all teleportation arrays between cities can be connected. Fortunately, the sky-peaking divine mirrors that Long Chen broke were all in Emperor Heaven. If they were in other heavens, Long Chen would be doomed if he rushed back. This time, Long Chen went to Emperor Mountain, and the route was basically the same as last time. However, the teleportation arrays in many cities could not be used, so Long Chen could only ride on the Golden Crow. The awakening of the chaos space devoured the bodies of a large number of powerful emperors, and these Golden Crows also rose with the tide. Although their auras were still divine emperors, their strength was already at the level of quasi-emperor. The Golden Crow had a great reputation and encountered many powerful people along the way. But when they saw that it was a Golden Crow, no one dared to come up and cause trouble. Because everyone knew that the Golden Crow clan was notoriously tyrannical and brutal, and no one wanted to provoke them. Long Chen ran all the way and practiced all the way. When he arrived at Emperor Mountain 3 days later, Long Chen had already opened 80% of the runes on a silver bar. At this time, the physical strength was more than 10 times stronger than when he just advanced to the human emperor. That kind of violent power wandered wildly in the body, which would bring endless expansion to people. However, Long Chun did not dare to expand, because he knew that even if he became 10 times stronger, he would still be a long way from opening the 8 gates. Therefore, Long Chun had to change his original plan and rushed directly to the Purple Blood Clan without waiting for the 8 gates to open. Because Long Chun found that even without opening the 8 gates, his physical strength had already reached an unprecedented level. The last time he had a small test with by Tianhua, Long Chun knew that there was a huge gap between him and the Emperor's 3rd-level strongman. The main reason was that the terrifying spatial force made Long Chun feel that he had a strong power but could not use it. However, as Long Chun's strength continued to increase, as long as it reached a certain level, it could also shake the spatial force. Otherwise, the Lord of the Palace would not have been able to resist Long Chen without using the Lingxiao Divine Sword. In other words, as long as Long Chen's physical strength continued to increase, he could still shake the spatial force. In addition, Long Chen had a huge reliance, that was Lei Linger. Now Lei Linger had absorbed half of the thunder power in the chaotic space. Even as Lei Linger's master, Lei Linger's aura made him feel numb. Even though Lei Linger was no match for a 3rd-level emperor, she could still give Long Chun a chance to escape if she used all her strength. As his physical strength improved and Lei Linger became stronger, Long Chun was no longer so eager to open the 8 gates. Lord Long Chun. When Long Chun came to Emperor Mountain again, the strong men guarding the gate stood up straight when they saw Long Chun, with a look of reverence on their faces. The last time Long Chun left Emperor Mountain, he joined forces with the Dragon Blood Corps to launch a bloody massacre in the city, killing all the races and forcing them to retreat to their own territory. That moment, the whole world was shocked. Long Chen's bravery and heroism made countless human races admire him. Because at that time, almost all human race forces chose to wait and see. Although they felt pity for the lives of those weak people, they did not dare to act rashly. And Long Chun, with a butcher knife, killed all the races and saved countless weak human race forces, which made countless people admire him. For the Purple Blood Clan, Long Chun is the pride of the Purple Blood Clan. Because Long Chun took the lead, the top geniuses of the Purple Blood Clan also went out. However, they acted a little late and there were too many geniuses in the human race, and because of Long Chen's leadership they began to slaughter all the races. The Purple Blood Clan's geniuses had just made their move, and before they had time to really start their fight, everything was over. Of course, they couldn't go straight to the other party's lair like Long Chen did, and they could only return with regret in the end. But in the hearts of the Purple Blood Clan, Long Chun was a godlike existence. To take the hatred of all races on himself, this required not only courage, but also the determination to face death. This time, Long Chun returned to the Emperor Mountain, and everyone who saw Long Chun, whether young or old, was in awe. This time, there was no obstacle and they went directly to the God Peak where the Luo family was located. Grandpa! What surprised Long Chun was that Luo Zichuan actually came out of retreat, and after coming out of retreat, Luo Zichuan was already an emperor and a real emperor. However, it seemed that he had just been promoted not long ago. Purple air was entangled around him, divine symbols were steaming, and his breath was still rhythmically moving. The whole person was like an erupting volcano. What surprised Long Chun was that Luo Zichuan's emperor flame fluctuations were even more vast than those of the double-body emperor. Congratulations, Grandpa, for advancing to the emperor, Long Chun said excitedly. Luo Zichuan was also excited when he saw Long Chun. He stretched out his big hand, pressed Long Chen's shoulder and shook it hard. Smelly boy, this body. Long Chen's breath was like a wild dragon running wild, and it was like the surging stars. As soon as he came in, Luo Zichuan was shocked. He thought it was some terrifying beast. He wanted to shake Long Chun to test how strong his body was. But Long Chen's body was like a mountain and he couldn't shake it at all. Obviously, Long Chen's physical strength has exceeded his imagination. Seeing that his grandson is so strong, Luo Zichuan is full of pride. The mountain master calculated that you would come here. I have been waiting for you for several days. Let's go. The mountain master is also waiting for us, Luo Zichuan said. Long Chen nodded. When he came last time, the owner of the Whispering Mountain said that his father and mother were in trouble, but the owner of the Whispering Mountain had sent people to support them. When Long Chen wanted to ask for specific information, the Lord of Whispering Mountain kept silent. Now that he has advanced to the human emperor, the Lord of Whispering Mountain will definitely not hide anything from him anymore. Thinking of the news about his parents, even with Long Chen's temperament, he couldn't help but tremble slightly with excitement. Luo Zichuan patted Long Chen's shoulder gently. He could understand Long Chen's feelings because he was the same. When the two came to the residence of the Lord of Whispering Mountain, in addition to the Lord of Whispering Mountain, there was another person present. This person was the old drunkard who almost killed Long Chen. When seeing the Lord of Whispering Mountain, Long Chen found that the Lord of Whispering Mountain was already a strong man of the third level of the Emperor. Under normal circumstances, Long Chen would definitely be shocked, but when he learned that Long Ken was also a strong man of the third level of the Emperor, Long Chen was no longer surprised. The cultivation of the new generation of strong men such as Long Chen is to advance, while others are to recover. As long as there is enough energy, their recovery speed must be far faster than their advancement speed. However, Long Chen was very curious about what level of strong man the Lord of Whispering Mountain would be in his peak state. Little brother, your physical body is amazing. When seeing Long Chen, the old drunkard holding the wine gourd jumped up all of a sudden, came to Long Chen, stretched out his hand to pinch Long Chen's arm, and looked amazed. Are you going to prove the Emperor with your physical body? The old drunkard sighed for a while and looked at Long Chen and said. Long Chen was about to ask what it meant to prove the Emperor with the physical body. But the Lord of Whispering Mountain frowned and said, Drink your wine first. This old drunkard was the ancestor of the Purple Blood clan. He called Long Chen little brother, which completely messed up the generation. What if this guy got drunk and became sworn brothers with Long Chen? How would they face Long Chen in the future? Greetings, Lord Mountain Master. Long Chen was very respectful to the Lord of Whispering Mountain and bowed quickly. The Whispering Mountain Master did not waste any more words and went straight to the point. The Lei family lineage that your mother belongs to is the spear that protects our Purple Blood clan. The blood of the Lei Shi clan has two attributes, frost and wild thunder, and has powerful lethality. During the chaos catastrophe, the Lei family lineage desperately protected our Purple Blood clan, and the entire race was almost destroyed. If it weren't for the sacrifice of the Lei family lineage, many bloodlines in our Emperor Mountain would be cut off, and I don't know how many Purple Blood clan members in the cracks outside would be destroyed. The Lei family lineage can be said to be the greatest contributor to our Purple Blood clan. Without them, we wouldn't be where we are today. No one knows how your mother found the Lei family. This branch of the Lei family tribe was trapped in the Whale Falling Land, unable to move forward or backward. After the Whispering Mountain Master story, Long Chen finally understood that the so-called Whale Falling Land was the place where a sky whale once fell. Sky whale, Long Chen had only heard of it, but had never seen it. Long Chen had only seen the strong men of the Sea Whale clan, and sky whale that only existed in legends. When Long Chen was at sea, he saw the corpse of a sea whale. The size of the sea whale was breathtaking. Long Chen had never seen a creature bigger than it. As for the sky whale, it soared in the universe and accompanied the stars. No one knew how it survived. There were too few records about the sky whale. When Long Chen learned that his mother and the Lei family were trapped in the Whale Falling Land, he felt bad. The Whale Falling Land has the law of the sky whale corpse attached to it. The strong men above the human emperor will be reduced to the human emperor realm when they enter the Whale Falling Land. We have personally explored it and used the power of the magic circle, but we cannot resist the law there. According to estimates, the whale corpse must have been in existence above the God Emperor realm before his death. At this point, Master Whispering could not help but sigh. The God Emperor is a supreme existence that can control the law of time. Such an existence is truly immortal. However, such an immortal existence actually died. This is really despairing. Is the so-called longevity and immortality all a lie? No matter how powerful you are, you will not be able to resist the crushing of the long river of time, and will eventually turn into ashes. Hearing the God Emperor, Long Chun suddenly thought of the one in the God Emperor Square of Lanling City. What kind of realm is this God Emperor? For such an existence, even if it is dead, we can't do anything. Unless the Tiangang Patriarch comes out of retreat, or the purple gold bell wakes up. But you also know that there is no point in saying these words because you won't wait. The Whale Falling Land is a place where you can only enter but not exit, and even the divine consciousness cannot be transmitted. Fortunately, your father found the Whale Falling Land. I don't know what method he used to contact the people inside and pass the message to Emperor Shan. At first, we were skeptical about this message, but the Lei family is too important to our purple blood family. If they are in trouble, we will save them at all costs. When we found the Whale Falling Land, your father had disappeared and should have entered the Whale Falling Land. And your father left a divine consciousness at the entrance of the Whale Falling Land, asking us to prepare a large amount of resources to support them, and also to wait until you advance to the Human Queen, and then tell you the news of the Whale Falling Land. After hearing the explanation from the Lord of Whispering Mountain, Long Chun finally understood that all of this was arranged by his father. No wonder the Lord of Whispering Mountain had kept it secret before. Grandpa told his father the news about his mother, and his father found the Whale Falling Land with the help of the token. However, he knew that once he entered the Whale Falling Land, his cultivation would be reduced and he would never come back, but he still went in. This means that his mother was in danger and he had to go in. He calculated that Emperor Mountain would definitely find this place, and Long Chun would definitely find Emperor Mountain and indirectly pass the message to Long Chun. However, apart from asking Long Chun to advance to the Human Queen and come over, he didn't say anything else, which means that Long Chun is the key to solving the problem. Thinking of his parents being in trouble, Long Chun wished he could go to the Whale Falling Land right now. The Lord of Whispering Mountain said, "I didn't expect you to come so soon. Now Meng Yao, Shuatu, Qingyi and others are still in retreat." Long Chun shook his head and said, "I can't wait. I want to go there right away." Long Chun understood what the Whispering Mountain Master meant. She had wanted to wait for the other geniuses to come out of retreat and give Long Chun more help. The Lei family was too important to the Purple Blood clan. This time they could only succeed and not fail. But Long Chun came here directly after he advanced to the Human Emperor. He did not retreat to consolidate his cultivation, adapt to the power of the Human Emperor, or practice the magic of the Emperor Dao. Can be seen how anxious Long Chun was. Long Chun's reaction was within the expectations of the Whispering Mountain Master. She nodded and said, "Originally, we have already built a secret teleportation array leading to the Whale Falling Land. But because we are now in the period of tribulation, the heavenly tribulation is endless, and this ultra-long distance transmission cannot be carried out. For safety reasons, I ask Patriarch Huiming to escort you there." Hey, what are you doing with my wine gourd?" Amid the old drunkard's exclamation, the Whispering Mountain Master snatched his wine gourd away. Long Chun is a pillar of our clan, and the right-hand man of the Purple Blood clan. On the road, there must be no mistakes, and no drinking is allowed during duty hours. Master Whispering said coldly, "Without wine, I will only have half my life left. What can I do if I encounter a powerful enemy?" The old drunkard shouted. But the Lord of Whispering Mountain ignored him. She came to Long Chun, stretched out her jade hand, gently straightened Long Chun's collar and said softly, "Without the Lei family, there would be no Purple Blood family today. It's a pity that I can't go, otherwise, even if I use my life in exchange for them, I won't frown. Child, this matter is up to you, you must bring them back." The Lord of Whispering Mountain reminded Long Chun again, which shows how much she values the Lei family. Unfortunately, she can't do anything, so she can only entrust it all to Long Chun. "Master Mountain Master, don't worry. When we join forces, father and son, there is no difficulty in this world that can stop us." Long Chun assured confidently. Luo Zichuan wanted to go with him, but when he learned that his cultivation would be suppressed to the Human Emperor realm, he thought of his own combat power at the Human Emperor realm and realized that he would only hinder Long Chun, so he finally chose to give up. Just like that, the old drunkard with a bitter face took Long Chun and left Emperor Mountain directly. Looking at Long Chen's departing back, the Whispering Mountain Master and Luo Zichuan couldn't help but clench their fists. Boom, boom. On a huge wine gourd, the old drunkard sat in front and Long Chen sat in the back. Without the wine, the old drunkard became listless and yawned all the time, looking like he had no desire to live, and looked very pitiful. At this moment, he seemed to have lost interest in everything. Long Chen had wine in his hand, but the owner of Whispering Mountain had told him not to give him wine. Otherwise, it would easily delay things. This matter was of great importance, and Long Chen dared not be careless at all. Fortunately, the old drunkard was very picky about wine. He would not drink other people's wine except his own, so he did not ask Long Chen for it, let alone buy wine. Ha! Suddenly the wine gourd moved slightly, and Long Chen opened the gravity rune and tried it. As a result, the wine gourd was of an unknown level of treasure, and it seemed that it was not afraid of gravity. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Long Chen directly opened the gravity rune of the 4 silver bars, and the wine gourd suddenly dropped dozens of feet in height, but soon stabilized again, restored its original height, and flew rapidly again. Seeing that the wine gourd had no effect, Long Chen was completely relieved and began to punch and kick, circulate his dark energy to practice, and stimulate his body crazily. If it were normal, the old drunkard would definitely ask excited questions when seeing this scene, but at this moment he was not interested in anything. Even though he knew that Long Chen had installed a terrifying gravity rune on his body, he was too lazy to take a look, and stared blankly at the front. The wine gourd was flying very fast, and the space rune was flowing, rapidly advancing forward, and the space was distorted in a large area, but it was abnormally stable. An hour later, Long Chen was panting like a cow. After another rest, Long Chen suddenly opened all the gravity runes on a silver bar, and the huge wine gourd sank down suddenly, almost falling directly to the ground. And Long Chen's bones were also creaked by the blow. In the past, Long Chen's gravity runes were added little by little, and at most 0.5% at a time. Now Long Chen added 20% at a time. The violent gravity made Long Chen almost unable to hold on. But in order to break through the limit quickly, Long Chen had to be a little ruthless to himself. He had to hurry up and be able to fully adapt to the weight of a whole silver bar before entering the whale-falling land. Runes began to light up around the wine gourd. Obviously, ordinary power could no longer support its normal flight, and it had to use the power of the origin. Even if the wine gourd used the power of the origin, the old drunkard still lay in front of it, motionless like a dead dog, ignoring it. Long Chen adapted for a long time before he began to slowly swing his arms. The terrifying weight caused cracks in Long Chen's bones and signs of his flesh and blood bursting. However, as he continued to be injured, the energy in Long Chen's body sensed the danger of Long Chen and began to repair Long Chen's wounds frantically. Every repair would strengthen Long Chen's body a little bit. This was a kind of self-mutilation practice, but it was also the most effective way of practicing. After several hours, after being injured and repaired continuously, the power was soaring wildly, and Long Chen could barely wave his arms and kick his legs a few times. But after a few times, his hands felt numb and he was too weak to move. After a rest, he continued to practice. After a day and a night, Long Chen could punch and kick normally, and each blow caused huge ripples in the void. This was the effect of Long Chen's convergence. If he released it with all his strength, he would directly blow up the void, which would seriously affect the flight speed. The effect of converging power is that the power is emitted inward, stimulating the body more strongly and making the body grow faster. As the day and night passed, the old drunkard seemed to be less uncomfortable. He no longer lay there like a dead dog without any image, but sat up. He supported his chin with one hand, but his eyes were still dull, staring blankly at the front, not knowing what he was thinking. Blood demon ancestor worship. Get out! Suddenly, a roar appeared in front of him, and the terrifying demonic energy rushed to the sky. Endless demon clan strongmen were worshipping a statue. Long Chen hurriedly stopped his action. He was surprised to find that among this group of demon clan strongmen, there was an old man with blood and energy, and the imperial power was as vast as the sea. He was actually a terrifying emperor of the third heaven. An emperor of the third heaven, dozens of emperors of the second heaven, and hundreds of emperors of the first heaven, and the endless demons. Long Chun never thought that in this desolate place, which looked inconspicuous, there was actually such a terrifying demon clan tribe hidden. They were performing an extremely ancient and pious ceremony, but when he saw the blood pool on the altar, Long Chun suddenly had murderous intent. Blood, the blood of the human race, hundreds of miles of blood pool, filled. How many human races must be killed to fill such a blood pool? Boom! The man's voice just fell. The old drunkard seemed not to hear their voice. The wine gourd continued to move forward, fiercely hit their barrier. With a bang, the barrier exploded. The whole world shook. Looking for death. The old drunkard's action immediately shocked and angered the blood demons. They had to suspend the worship ceremony. The emperor of the third heaven strong waved his hand. A huge blood soul flag, carrying the blood, fiercely hit the wine gourd. It was a terrifying emperor's weapon. With the life force of the emperor of the third heaven strong, this blow could destroy the world. Obviously, the emperor of the third heaven strong wanted to fight quickly and could not delay the worship ceremony. Boom! As a result, the runes on the wine gourd lit up, and the purple divine light pierced the sky and hit the blood soul banner fiercely. With a loud bang, the wine gourd was safe and sound, but the blood soul banner exploded. Puff! The blood soul banner exploded, and the head of the demon clan strongman of the third level of the emperor was cracked, and almost exploded on the spot. The blood soul banner is his life-defining magic weapon, but his life-defining magic weapon is different from others. Others keep a trace of soul in the magic weapon. In order to better control the blood soul banner, he attached 30% of his soul to it. If he was not afraid of being attacked by the weapon spirit, he would attach more souls to it. The advantage of so many souls attached to it is that the violent power accumulated in the blood soul banner can be directly detonated with just a thought. The disadvantage is also obvious. The moment the blood soul banner exploded, his soul was severely damaged and his head almost exploded directly. Is there such a good thing? Before Long Chun could react, billions of sharp dragon scales shot out and instantly covered the entire demon clan tribe. Puff! The blood-colored dragon bone evil moon behind Long Chun had already turned into a flying rainbow, piercing directly into the left temple of the blood demon clan emperor third heaven old man, and piercing out from the right temple, piercing through the head. Buzz! The dragon bone evil moon glowed, and endless blood flew out of the blood demon clan old man's body and poured into the dragon bone evil moon. The old man of the third heaven of the emperor, whose divine weapon was destroyed and whose soul was severely injured, was on the verge of spiritual collapse. It was effortless for the dragon bone evil moon to kill him, and he instantly sucked his blood and soul dry. As for his body, it was thrown directly into the chaotic space. It only wanted the blood and soul and nothing else. The body of the strong man of the third heaven of the emperor not only had the power of blood and soul, but also contained a great life energy and imperial energy. After being swallowed by the black soil, it would nourish the entire chaotic space. After absorbing the body of the strong man of the third heaven of the emperor, the dragon bone evil moon slashed fiercely on the altar. Buzz! The whole altar was originally blooming with divine light, but the endless power was sucked dry by the dragon bone evil moon, and it collapsed instantly. Puff, puff, puff. At this time, billions of scales flew past, and the strong man of the second heaven of the emperor was also directly crushed and soon killed. The fingernail-sized scales fluttered like petals, looking so beautiful, but these beautiful petals were really deadly. Its edge became sharper and sharper, cutting through flesh and blood like cutting through white paper. Even the strong men of the second level of the emperor's heaven could not defend themselves. The most important thing was that the dragon scales at this time not only looked like petals but also looked like petals in color. After absorbing the thunder, the dragon scales, which were originally black, had turned silver-white. When they absorbed enough blood souls, blood-colored threads actually emerged from them, just like the texture of petals. Take out a piece and put it in your hand. If it weren't for its hard touch and sharp breath, it would be easy to be mistaken for a petal. Last time, they could kill the strong men of the second level of the Emperor's heaven, but now it has become even easier. The endless Blood Demon Clan strongmen were slaughtered almost in an instant, and Long Chun didn't even need to do anything. Everything was over. The wine gourd did not stop at all and continued to move forward, while Longu Sheue led billions of petals to catch up with Long Chun. The speed was so fast that even the old drunkard was moved this time. He looked at the dragon bone evil moon behind Long Chun, and said with a serious face, "Your weapon is very evil, you have to be careful, just in case one day." Long Chun shook his head and said, "No one will happen." He knew what the old drunkard wanted to say, but Long Chun absolutely believed in the dragon bone evil moon, just like he believed in every dragon blood warrior. Seeing Long Chun said this, the old drunkard stopped talking and began to stare at the scenery in front of him in a daze. And Long Chun also clearly felt that the old drunkard was obviously different after quitting drinking. His scattered eyes gradually became sharp. It was like a rusty long sword, which was gradually removing its rust, and the edge was faintly emerging. The old drunkard's breath was very obscure, and even his imperial aura fluctuations could not be felt. Perhaps because of this, those Blood Demon Clan strongmen did not take him seriously. Long Chun found that the gourd of the old drunkard was also like the old drunkard himself, and it was hard to tell the depth. The terrifying soul-calling flag was actually smashed by it. It was like a stone hitting an egg. It was an absolute crush. No wonder the Whispering Mountain Master asked the old drunkard to be responsible for Long Chen's safety. The strength was simply terrifying. The foundation of Emperor Mountain was still very amazing. However, Long Chen soon thought of a terrible question. As powerful as the old drunkard was, he still didn't dare to challenge the great Brahma head-on. So what was the real strength of the great Brahma? It seems that I still have a long way to go. Long Chun took a deep breath and began to practice again. Along the way, the old drunkard rushed around fearlessly. No matter whose territory it was, he would crush it directly. Would be fine if the opponent didn't make a move. Once he made a move to stop him, he would be smashed into powder by the wine gourd. However, the old drunkard didn't make a move and concentrated on his journey. Long Chun concentrated on practicing. Only Longu Sheue made a lot of money along the way, absorbing the power of Blood Soul and strengthening himself. When the third day arrived, the world ahead changed, and a rotten, desolate atmosphere came to the face. "We're here." Long Chen's heart shuddered. Long Chun felt that the laws of heaven were withering. In this realm, people felt very uncomfortable. It is indeed the breath of the God Emperor. The old drunkard looked at the front for a long time with a serious face, and then said, "Long Chun, I can only send you here. Because of the relationship between Cultivation, I will be greatly rejected, but you will not be affected at all. For the rest of the road, you just have to keep going forward. Good luck." Long Chun nodded, jumped off the gourd, and walked forward, disappearing with Long Chen's back. The seriousness on the old drunkard's face suddenly disappeared, and he couldn't help cursing. "Damn it! I'm dying of suffocation. I'm not going back to Emperor Mountain. I'm going to drink. Ha!" The huge gourd burst out with a loud bang, and the space was distorted. It disappeared instantly in the form of a teleportation talisman. Long Chun walked forward all the way, alert all over. Coming here, Long Chun didn't dare to be careless at all. "Wait a little longer. When I condense the Blood Moon Talisman, you can imprint your consciousness on it, and you won't need to be so cautious anymore." The voice of Longu Sheue came. "What is the Blood Moon Talisman?" Long Chun asked. I won't tell you yet. I'll let you know what is truly invincible and make you look so handsome." Longu Sheue smiled and kept it a secret. Long Chun was too lazy to pay attention to it. The arrogant Longu Sheue also learned bad things and became mysterious. Buzz! Long Chun continued to move forward. Suddenly, runes lit up around him, forming a square shield that enveloped him. "One of us." Long Chun stretched out his hand and revealed the identity nameplate in his hand. Ha! As soon as the identity nameplate appeared, the formation disappeared, and then a middle-aged man with the cultivation of the Divine Emperor realm appeared. Hello, Lord Long Chun. The middle-aged man saluted Long Chun respectfully. Is it true that when we get here, the emperors can't enter? Long Chun asked. To reply to your excellency, the emperor cannot reach here and will be excluded by the laws here. If you want to come in, you must seal your cultivation, and once the seal is formed, it will be blessed by the laws here. The blessed seal will become a permanent seal, that is to say, as long as this world is not destroyed, the seal will never disappear. The man said, this is the rule they have figured out, so they set up a magic array here. If someone comes in, their cultivation will be suppressed, and at most they will be at the Divine Emperor realm, and the array is enough to suppress them. The man led the way in front, and after half an hour, the man stopped, and someone was already waiting inside. The person waiting was an old man. Although he was old, his cultivation was not high, and he was in the late stage of the human emperor. When you get here, the laws change again, and you can't enter the Divine Emperor realm. You can only suppress your cultivation to the human emperor realm to continue moving forward. Continuing forward, after walking for another hour, fog appeared in front, and a chain bridge appeared in the fog. This was built by the Purple Blood Clan. The fog law will block people's consciousness and perception. Without it, it is easy to get lost. After walking along the chain bridge for half an incense stick of time, a twisted vortex appeared in front of him. We're here. When Long Chun saw the vortex, he couldn't help but get excited. Ha! Without any hesitation, Long Chun stepped in and disappeared in an instant. Buzz! When entering the vortex, Long Chun seemed to have entered a time and space channel. A strong suction force pulled him forward rapidly. Long Chun tried to resist, but in front of the suction force, any struggle was meaningless. Long Chun suddenly had a strange idea. If he activated the gravity runes on the 32 silver bars at the same time, would the strong gravity break the suction force? However, Long Chun did not dare to try it in the end. If it broke, he didn't know where he would be swept away. He was afraid that he would never come back. Don't play yourself to death. Boom! The suction force became bigger and stronger. Suddenly, Long Chun seemed to hear endless roars. The roar was extremely strange. Long Chun had never heard that kind of sound. When he heard that sound, the mysterious ancient vine in the chaotic space lit up with divine light, and its breath became ferocious and fierce in an instant. That moment it was like a frightened beast, and it took a defensive posture. Long Chun was startled. He had never seen the mysterious ancient vine in this state. Long Chun hurriedly comforted it. This is the chaotic space and no one can threaten it. After Long Chun comforted it, the mysterious ancient vine slowly calmed down. It slowly stretched out its tentacles from behind Long Chun, cautiously, like a curious child. It only dared to stick out a little tip from Long Chun's collar, as if looking around. Suddenly, it stretched out 2 leaves. Squeak! The 2 leaves rubbed against each other gently, making a light sound. Do you feel familiar with this place? Long Chun was shocked that the mysterious ancient vine actually communicated with Long Chun in this way. The mysterious ancient vine could not speak, and its spiritual expression was extremely vague. But the sound made by this friction expressed its will very clearly. Squeak! The mysterious ancient vine continued to make sounds, and Long Chun was more and more shocked the more he listened. If Long Chun understood correctly, then the mysterious ancient vine meant that the breath here made it feel familiar, as if it had awakened some kind of memory. In other words, something here might come from the same place as it. Moreover, it also heard the roar that Long Chun heard, and that sound made it feel dangerous, and many more divine patterns appeared on its body. These divine patterns had never appeared before, and when these divine patterns appeared, it seemed that something in its body had awakened. However, it did not understand all of this. It was like a child with amnesia, and could not remember anything. Squeak! The mysterious ancient vine opened 2 leaves, like 2 small hands, and gently stroked Long Chen's cheek. Long Chen could not help but laugh. Okay. When you become stronger, help me beat those guys who bully me. This mysterious ancient vine was quite cute. Long Chen stroked the ancient vine and said, "You don't know who you are, and you don't know where you come from. From now on I will call you Gigi. I hope you will know everything sooner." Squeak! The mysterious ancient vine became very happy when it had a name. Roar! At this moment, the roar sounded again, and Gigi was frightened and immediately shrank back into the chaotic space. Buzz! Suddenly, Long Chen felt his whole body sink, and like a bullet, he shot out from the space channel. In front of him was a desolate world. The spiritual energy between heaven and earth was extremely thin, and the air was filled with the breath of death and decay. Oh my goodness! There is a lack of spiritual energy and incomplete laws. It is impossible to practice here. If you stay here for a long time, your cultivation will continue to decline. Long Chen was shocked. Is this the place where the whale fell? No, shouldn't the whale fall return everything it has to the world that raised it? Logically speaking, this should be a treasure land. Suddenly, Long Chen felt something strange. He waved his hand, and the ground exploded, and a piece of jade flew out. When he saw a colorful arrow engraved on the jade, a smile appeared on Long Chen's face. Dad is afraid that I will get lost. The jade was marked by Long Zhantian with the blood of the Supreme. Only those who have the blood of the Supreme can feel it. Ha! Long Chen rushed forward in the direction of the arrow. He found that this place seemed like a dead world. The earth had withered and the rocks had decayed. Looking around, there was no trace of life. Long Chen grabbed a piece of rock. The rock had been carbonized and there was no fluctuation of any attributes. Boom! Suddenly, there was a loud explosion, and the terrifying pressure rose up, and the whole world darkened in an instant. Long Chen looked up and saw dark clouds in front of him, and those dark clouds were endless black bats. They were about the same height as humans, with fangs and sharp teeth, hideous faces, and black wings behind them, covered with strange runes and fierce. They have 4 arms, claws like hooks, toes like knives, flashing with terrifying cold light, and you can tell at a glance that they are extremely sharp. Their skin is covered with black scales, as if they are wearing armor and armed to the teeth. And their teeth are covered with blood runes and translucent mucus. The stench can be smelled from a long distance. Obviously, their saliva is highly poisonous. If you are bitten, the venom alone can kill you. What shocked Long Chen the most was that these monsters exuded the breath of the human emperor, but they did not transform into human form. Within the 9 heavens, those who cannot transform into human form in the human emperor realm can generally be divided into 3 types. One is a race with special blood and the ability to fight against the laws of heaven and earth. This race is extremely rare and only exists in legends. So far, Long Chen has not seen such an existence. Another type is a race with low intelligence and limited talent. They can also advance to the human emperor realm, but cannot transform. This type is generally composed of magic beasts with poor blood. There is also a species from outside the sky. They are not creatures within the 9 heavens, so they are not bound by this law. The monsters in the 9 heavens are of this type, but among those monsters the high-level demons can also transform. And the creatures in front of Long Chen exuded terrifying demonic energy, and their eyes were full of bloodthirstiness and violence. Although the aura was very different from the monsters in the 9 heavens, they gave Long Chen the feeling that they were of the same origin and should be evil demons from outside the domain. Boom! After they discovered Long Chen, they immediately pounced on him. There were too many of them and they were simply endless. Puff! Long Chen waved his big hand, and a bat monster was sucked into his hand. With a pinch of his big hand, the bat monster was instantly crushed. After crushing the bat, Long Chen found that the bat's body was very strong, especially the scales on its body, which were comparable to royal weapons. However, the essence and blood in the body of this bat was very little. Such a big bat, the essence and blood in its body was only the size of a fist. Moreover, there was no crystal core in its head, and no inner elixir in its stomach. All its strength was driven by this little essence and blood. They have amazing explosive power, but poor endurance. Such a small amount of blood essence cannot sustain them in a long battle. However, the energy contained in such a group of blood essence is very amazing. The average human emperor is really no match for them. Puff, puff, puff. When Long Chun just found out the details of these bat monsters, an endless torrent of dragon scales shot out, filling the space of tens of thousands of miles in an instant. Sure. Longu Sheue said excitedly. I was so disappointed when I first came in. I didn't expect that there would be meat to eat in this barren place. Longu Sheue has a good appetite. No matter what kind of creature's blood essence, it is good stuff for it. And it was excited to find that the blood essence of these monsters was extremely pure, comparable to the powerful divine emperor. The only drawback is that these monsters have almost no spiritual power, which also means that these monsters don't have much brain. 1,080,000,000 dragon scales were flying, and the endless monsters were not enough to kill. Almost all of them turned into powder in an instant. Long Chun couldn't help but sigh secretly. Longu Sheue was too strong. After opening the second form, this super large attack range was too suitable for group battles. This is equivalent to Long Chun leading 1 billion troops. After madly sucking blood, these scales began to grow wildly. The double-body emperor was not enough. These human emperor-level monsters were simply sent food. Ha! The dragon scales disappeared all over the sky, and except for the corpse fragments on the ground, it seemed that nothing had happened. Xiaoyu, why are your scales becoming more and more like petals? They look so effeminate. Long Chun couldn't help but complain. In the past, the black scales looked mighty and domineering, full of murderous aura. But now, the taste of the scales has changed. Looking at the petals flying all over the sky, Long Chun felt a little uncomfortable. Long Xiaoyu said unhappily, You know shit. My first form is the most rigid and masculine, and the second form is a combination of rigidity and softness. I am now in the initial stage of the second form. In the future, the dragon scales will eventually evolve into real petals. By then, the petals will fall in profusion and all the flowers will lose their color. And you stand above the world. I don't know how many girls are crazy for you, and hit the wall for you. As he spoke, Long Xiaoyu's voice became gradually evil, and Long Chun immediately got goosebumps. A big man, being entangled by endless petals. Just thinking about it makes him feel sick. No, I'm not a sissy, Long Chun said angrily. Tisk, when you know how strong my second form is, you will cry and beg me. The voice of Longu Sheue was full of contempt, and it was obvious that it was full of confidence in its second form. Long Chun was too lazy to pay attention to him and continued to fly forward. The wind and sand were endless, the lust was everywhere, and the air was filled with despair. A woman who looked to be in her 30s appeared on a dilapidated ancient city. The woman had a beautiful face, but her eyes were filled with heartbreaking vicissitudes. Looking at the figure looming in the wind and sand in the distance, she murmured, Why are you doing this? Isn't it good to accompany Chunner outside and watch him get married and have children? The ancient city has been weathered, and the original formation runes have disappeared. This is an isolated city. Most of the buildings in the city have collapsed, and there are broken walls and ruins everywhere. In the underground of this ancient city, you can feel countless fluctuations of breath. The people here are hiding underground. Long Zhantian's face is full of fatigue, and his handsome face is full of haggardness. He has experienced countless battles since he came here. If it weren't for him, the city would have been devoured by endless monsters. However, with his cultivation reduced, he, like everyone else, could not get energy replenishment and began to become weaker and weaker. Long Zhantian gently pulled the woman's hand and smiled. Don't worry, we'll hold on a little longer. Chunner will definitely come. The woman was none other than Long Chen's mother Luo Ningxuang. She bit her lip and shook her head, saying, "The knife seller led me here and said that if I stayed here, my family would be reunited. I believed him, but now, I would rather not have him come, not have this reunion." At this point, Luo Ningxuang choked up. She wanted to see Long Chen, but she was afraid to see him. This is a desperate place. There is no way back. If Long Chen comes, he will only die with them at the hands of these endless monsters. During the Chaos War, the Lei family was forced into the Whale-Falling Land. At that time, the Whale-Falling Land was still a beautiful world with abundant spiritual energy and endless resources. However, the Whale-Falling Land is too big, so big that it is boundless. There are different laws around it, and their living area is only the size of 100 states. I don't know when the monsters appeared. They came from other places in the Whale-Falling Land. And the place where they are is restricted by laws, and the human race cannot go there, so they can only passively defend. Fortunately, the resources here are extremely rich. The Lei family mined resources, built defenses, resisted foreign enemies, and multiplied at the same time. However, in modern times, as resources gradually dried up, the monsters became more and more numerous and stronger. The Lei family resisted frantically, but there were too many monsters, so they had to reduce the perimeter of their defense and retreat here. The Lei family, which had hundreds of millions of strong men in its heyday, now has less than 1 million. Boom, boom. At this moment, the surrounding space trembled, and Long Zhantian's heart trembled. He knew that another round of attack was about to begin. Who? At this time, countless figures emerged, and thousands of old men at the peak of the human emperor were covered with blood-colored runes. When seeing these old men, Long Zhantian's face showed a trace of reluctance, and Luo Ningxuang bit her cherry lips tightly, trying not to cry. This is the tradition of the Lei family. When facing a decisive battle with huge casualties, the old generation of strong men will stimulate their own runes to act as pioneers, and use self-destruction to cause huge casualties to the enemy, thereby reducing the pressure on the younger generation. When the Lei family was about to collapse, Luo Ningxuang appeared, and she brought new hope to the Lei family. However, this hope did not last long. With the appearance of more monsters, the situation once again fell to the brink of collapse, and then Long Zhantian appeared. Now, with endless monsters charging frantically, no one has confidence that they can withstand this wave of attacks even if the old generation of Lei clan members sacrifice themselves in the state of resource depletion. Long Zhantian once sent a letter to the Purple Blood clan to ask them to provide supplies. Unfortunately, Long Zhantian did not expect that the people who sent the supplies were killed by endless monsters after they came in. Moreover, these monsters surrounded the entrance so tightly that they could not get the supplies sent in. Boom, boom, boom. Endless monsters roared from all directions, and the old generation of Lei clan members rushed out directly. Boom, boom, boom. Thunder exploded, blood flowers bloomed, and endless monsters instantly turned into nothingness. Kill. Long Zhantian and Luo Ningxuang killed their way out, and Linglong Blood Demon and Frost Dragon appeared. However, the once arrogant Linglong Blood Demon was now reduced to a lower realm and suppressed in the human emperor realm, and was covered with wounds. Puff, puff, puff. The strong men of the Lei family also rushed out, but they had no weapons in their hands, and relied entirely on their physical bodies to fight the monsters. However, the strong men of the Lei family were extremely brave, and as they were all human emperors, they killed the monsters one after another and made them explode. Roar! At this moment, huge bats appeared among the monsters. They were over 10 feet tall, and their divine emperor aura was surging. They were divine emperor-level monsters, and there were hundreds of them at once. Be careful! Long Zhantian and Luo Ningxuang looked at each other. Only the two of them could deal with this level of existence. They must kill these leaders as soon as possible to reduce the sacrifice. However, Long Zhantian and Luo Ningxuang had experienced countless bloody battles, and their original power was seriously consumed and could not be replenished at all. Facing a strong man of this level, they would also be in danger of their lives. The two looked at each other deeply and rushed towards the monster leaders. Puff, puff, puff. Long Gentian held a colorful long sword, and 10 colorful divine swords were flying behind him, killing the divine emperor-level monsters one by one. If it was normal, Long Gentian could kill these divine emperor monsters in an instant with 10,000 swords flying, but now his blood power was insufficient, so he could only summon so many. Boom! With a loud noise, Long Gentian's face changed. He found that Luo Ningxuang was hit by a palm of a monster, and Luo Ningxuang was covering her chest at this time. Ningxuang! Long Gentian was shocked, thinking that Luo Ningxuang was injured, and was about to rush over to rescue her. Here he comes. Luo Ningxuang's voice trembled, and her beautiful eyes were full of excitement. Puff, puff, puff. At this moment, endless petals poured down, covering the entire battlefield in an instant, and endless monsters, whether they were human emperors or god emperors, were instantly strangled into powder. A handsome man in a black robe appeared on the battlefield. At this time, he looked at Luo Ningxuang intently, and his body was shaking constantly. When she saw Long Chun, Luo Ningxuang covered her cherry lips with her jade hands, and tears instantly blurred her vision. The baby who was once in swaddling clothes has now grown into a man who stands tall and upright. At that moment, her heart was broken. Mother and child are connected by heart. When Long Chun hadn't appeared yet, she sensed it. After all, they once shared a heart. And Long Chun also sensed the exact location of his mother, so he rushed over at full speed. However, when he saw the blurry figure that appeared in his dreams countless times, gradually becoming real, Long Chun stood there, not daring to move, because he was afraid that if he moved, he would wake up from the dream. Only he knew the heart-piercing pain. Luo Ningxuang looked at Long Chun, choking and unable to say a word. At that moment, the whole world seemed to freeze. Mom, is it really you? Long Chun choked. At that moment, he was not a dean, not a hero, he was just a helpless child. The trembling voice and excited eyes were distressing. Everyone could hear his fear. He was afraid that all this was unreal. Child, I'm sorry. Luo Ningxuang slowly walked in front of Long Chun, reached out and stroked Long Chen's handsome cheek, and tears fell like rain. Until now, Long Chen finally dared to be sure that this was not a dream. He knelt on the ground and hugged his mother and cried loudly, Mom, I am unfilial and let you suffer. At that moment, Long Chun seemed like a wronged child, crying loudly, and tears were the only tool to vent. Since childhood, his spiritual blood, spiritual roots, and spiritual bones were dug out, and he suffered hardships, but he never felt that he was suffering, because he knew that his mother must be more miserable than him. He only hated himself for being useless and not coming to find his mother earlier. Now that he saw his mother, Long Chun could no longer hold back and burst into tears, as if he wanted to cry out all his grievances and longings. Boom, boom. At this moment, the ground shook, and the monsters that Long Chun had just killed in an instant appeared again. And this time, there was an even more violent aura. A troll 10 feet tall appeared, and the violent imperial aura changed the color of the world. Luo Ningxuang reached out to help Long Chun wipe away his tears, pulled Long Chun up, and said softly, Good child, today is a happy day. Let's not cry. Let's work together to get rid of these damn guys first, and then tell Mother about the suffering you have endured over the years. This kind of trivial matter, Mother doesn't need to worry about it. Having a child is enough. Long Chun waved his hand, and endless petals whistled out. Before those monsters rushed to the front, they were crushed in an instant. The petals in the sky disappeared, and endless corpse fragments fell from the air. At that moment, the strong men of the Lei family were completely stunned. Endless monsters were killed in an instant, and the petals in the sky disappeared. There were only the corpses of monsters between heaven and earth. Even though the Lei family had been dealing with monsters for countless years, they had never seen such a scene before, and the crisis was resolved in an instant. According to past experience, the monsters would charge only when they gathered to a certain number, which won them a period of breathing time. Looking at the flying monster fragments in the sky, Long Zhantian smiled. Obviously, everything was within his expectations. With Long Chen here, all difficulties can be solved. Luo Ningxuang looked at Long Chen with pride on her face. She had heard Long Zhantian say before that their son was a genius among geniuses. Now, with a wave of his hand, the monsters were wiped out. His handsome and cool appearance reminded her of the former Long Zhantian. The bat demons will not attack for the time being. Let's go back to the city first. Mother has a lot to tell you. Luo Ningxuang took Long Chen's hand and said softly. Long Chen nodded, and the family of 3 returned to the so-called city. Seeing the ruined city, Long Chen couldn't help feeling sad. After entering the city, they followed the passage and entered the underground world. It turned out that the resources in this world were almost completely exhausted. Only under the city, there was a spiritual stone vein, which was also the lifeline of everyone. After each war, they relied on absorbing the power of the vein to recover. However, there were not many veins left, and everyone dared to absorb only a little. Once the vein was exhausted, it meant that the whole clan would perish. The vein was their last hope and the driving force for them to persist. If Long Zhantian absorbed the spiritual energy in the vein with all his strength, he could directly suck it dry. It was like the last drop of water in the desert. Could not save everyone's life, but it was the spiritual pillar that supported everyone. After returning to the underground, everyone else retreated wisely, leaving only Long Chen and his mother. Even Long Zhantian went to another place to rest. More than an hour later, Luo Ningxuang came out, her face full of sadness. Where is Chan'er? Long Zhantian asked. Fell asleep. He is too tired. Luo Ningxuang threw herself into Long Zhantian's arms, choking with sobs. This child must have suffered a lot. But he refused to say anything, only saying that he had lived a good life these years. There were many good brothers. Many girls liked him. At this point, Luo Ningxuang could not continue, and sobbed softly in Long Zhantian's arms. Long Chen did not mention a word about the suffering he had suffered in these years, but only said how good and happy he was, and that Long Tianxiao and his wife gave him all the fatherly and motherly love, and did not let him suffer any grievances, etc. But as a mother, she knew how hard Long Chen had gone through. Long Chen's eyes could not deceive her, but Long Chen refused to say, and instead asked her about the suffering she had suffered in these years. Long Chen was so sensible that it broke her heart. As Long Chen spoke, he fell asleep on her legs. At that moment, Long Chen was like a child who had finally found the warmest haven and fell asleep. Luo Ningxuang felt very uncomfortable. Long Chen, like Long Zhantian, did not mention his suffering after seeing her. He just cared about her blindly, which touched her and made her feel distressed. Not being able to accompany their children all the way to grow up is the biggest regret of every parent, and some regrets are destined to be irreparable. Luo Ningxuang cried sadly, and Long Zhantian gently stroked his wife's shoulders and said softly, although we have experienced many twists and turns, our family of 3 is finally reunited. We should be happy. Luo Ningxuang nodded. She had prayed to the heaven countless times. Now her wish had finally come true. At that moment, she felt that the whole world was filled with brilliance. But, thinking of the situation here, Luo Ningxuang's face was suddenly filled with worry. Long Zhantian smiled and said, now that my son is here, all problems will be solved. He is no longer a baby in swaddling clothes. He has grown up. He has grown from a small sapling to a towering tree. After hearing what Long Zhantian said, Luo Ningxuang stopped talking. The 2 returned to their residence. Long Chen was still sleeping with a smile on his face. Practitioners do not need to sleep. At the same time, because of long-term practice, they basically cannot sleep. Only in extremely rare cases can they return to their original nature. Looking at the sleeping Long Chen, Long Zhantian and Luo Ningxuang smiled at each other. They seemed to remember that they had watched Long Chen sleeping when he was a child. Long Chen slept very sweetly this time. He slept for 3 hours before waking up. After waking up, Long Chun was full of energy, as if he had entered a wonderful state of practice. His spirit and energy reached an unprecedented peak. Long Zhantian and Luo Ningxuang were already patrolling the city. For some reason, the monsters that used to take a long time to gather were gathering quickly and were about to launch a fierce attack. When Long Chun arrived, he immediately sensed the endless monsters rushing in. However, they did not attack directly, as if they were waiting for orders. "Mom, what's going on with these monsters?" Long Chun asked. Luo Ningxuang looked at the endless monsters and said, "No one knows where these extraterritorial demons come from. This Whalefall land is full of law spaces, and we are simply unable to explore. This is like a huge cage that traps us here and we can't get out. But these monsters can come in, but they are like us, and it seems that once they come in, they can never get out again. Therefore, once they come in, they will attack us frantically, and these monsters don't have what we need. This causes us to continue to consume, but we can't get replenished, and eventually fall into such an embarrassing situation. Mom, you said that a knife seller led you here. Is it the knife on your waist?" Long Chun asked tentatively. Luo Ningxuang had a weapon hanging from her waist, but it was long and narrow, and looked like a sword. Luo Ningxuang had always been empty-handed when she fought against the enemy before, and had never used it, which made Long Chun feel very strange. The knife seller had sold the knife on credit to Luo Zichuan and his mother. Long Chun felt a little wary of this mysterious knife seller. What kind of person is this person? He can actually calculate the fate of others. Is this all arranged by God? Or is someone secretly pulling them? What exactly does this person want to do? If he has bad intentions, then wouldn't they become puppets at the mercy of others? Luo Ningxuang smiled and took off the weapon from her waist, handed it to Long Chun and said, "This weapon is called Pujuan, but since I got this knife, I have never used it, because it can't be pulled out at all." Clang! Luo Ningxuang's words have not been finished yet, and the smile on her face suddenly turned into a look of astonishment. When Long Chun held the scabbard of Pujuan, the scabbard trembled slightly, and it automatically popped out 3 inches, and the blade covered with frost appeared in front of everyone. At that moment, the temperature of the whole world was rapidly dropping, and the sharp cold air spread rapidly. Even the powerful emperor felt a tremor in his soul. Luo Ningxuang could not help but be stunned. Since she got this knife, she has been studying it, but she has never been able to pull it out. However, when it came to Long Chen's hand, it popped out automatically. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The long knife was buzzing in Long Chen's hand, and the terrifying cold air was constantly released. Soon the whole ancient city was covered with frost and spread rapidly outward. I understand. This knife, in addition to the power of purple blood, also needs the aura of killing to open. Long Zhantian suddenly realized. He had also studied this knife for a long time. When Luo Ningxuang used the power of purple blood, they had already reacted, but they just couldn't pull it out. He always felt that something was missing. Now it was 3 inches out of the sheath, and the sharp murderous aura gushed out. Long Zhantian suddenly understood that to open it, a vast killing power was also needed. In other words, this broken army was a killing weapon. Although Luo Ningxuang had killed countless monsters, she could never open it. What a terrifying cold air! The strong men of the Lei family were horrified. The breath released naturally from the scabbard of only 3 inches would freeze a person's soul. Mother! Long Chun was unable to control the power of frost and handed the knife to his mother. Luo Ningxuang took over Pujuan. The moment she touched Pujuan, the frost on the blade instantly disappeared, and the cold air between heaven and earth gradually dissipated. Clang! The long knife was unsheathed. This is a rare straight knife. The blade is straight and slender. The blade is covered with snowflake patterns. It is delicate but with cold murderous intent. When Luo Ningxuang held Pujuan, the breath on the blade changed from extroverted to introverted. Luo Ningxuang felt the power of frost coming from the handle and couldn't help but be stunned. Long Zhantian couldn't help but be moved. He and Long Chun could see that this was an advanced spiritual weapon. Like humans, it can practice and evolve. As long as it is given enough power, it will break through continuously. At this moment, it was just a weapon of the Emperor, but its aura and sense of oppression were no less than those of ordinary Emperor weapons. It was a super powerful divine weapon. Moreover, this super powerful divine weapon seemed to be tailor-made for Luo Ningxuang. In fact, it had already recognized its master, but it was blocked by some force until Long Chen appeared and was unsealed. Congratulations, Mother! You have obtained the divine weapon's recognition of your master. From now on, you will be able to travel across the 9 heavens and be invincible in the world. Long Chen said with a smile. Luo Ningxuang glared at Long Chen. At this moment, her heart was full of joy, but Long Chen's smile made her a little embarrassed. Boom, boom! At this moment, endless monsters launched an attack again. Luo Ningxuang snorted coldly and was about to try the power of this broken army. No, 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 why use a butcher knife to kill a chicken? This kind of trivial matter, Mother won't do it herself. Long Chen hurriedly took the first step, and endless dragon scale petals flew out and began to strangle frantically. The broken army has a terrifying frost power, which will freeze the spirit blood and destroy its spirit. The little spiritual blood on this monster was originally of some value. If Pajun killed it, it would be a waste. It would be better to leave it to Long Guxiayu. Chen'er, although your power is strong, you can't get it here. You have to save some. Seeing Long Chen launch a large-scale attack again, Luo Ningxuang reminded him. When she first came here, she also squandered her original power to her heart's content, until later she had to live a tight life. But what she didn't know was that the petals flying all over the sky were not Long Chen's power, but Long Guxiayu's power. After Long Guxiayu killed these monsters, the consumption would be replenished, and there would be surplus. Long Chen wished that there were more monsters, so that Long Guxiayu could continue to become stronger. But no matter whether his mother's words were right or wrong, Long Chen would not refute them, and hurriedly put on an appearance of being humble and willing to learn. Long Zhantian smiled and said nothing. He had already seen the clues, but Long Chen neither refuted nor explained. It can be seen that this boy has a very high emotional intelligence. No wonder he is liked by so many women. I can't help but think of when I was young. He didn't have such a high emotional intelligence. He liked to argue about right and wrong in everything. He was withdrawn and proud. Only Luo Ningxuang didn't dislike him, and they finally got together. When Long Chen arrived, Luo Ningxuang had the terrifying Pajun again. In this way, the Lei family would not be in danger in a short time, and everyone was relieved. Mom, you have Pajun in your hand, and there is no danger in the city for the time being. I want to go outside to take a look, Long Chen said. Long Chen always felt that this whale-falling land was very strange. The knife cheater led him here step by step, and there must be some purpose. Luo Ningxuang nodded, but she was still a little worried. She asked Long Zhantian to accompany Long Chen. She was enough here. If it was just for defense, she didn't need to use the power of origin at all. She only needed to release the frost power of Pajun and set up a barrier, and the monsters would never rush in. So the father and son walked out of the ruined city. When Long Zhantian came, the ruined city was always in crisis, and he had never gone out. At this time, Long Zhantian had the opportunity to ask about the situation of Emperor Mountain. When he learned that the strong men of the Purple Blood Clan who sent resources were killed by monsters, he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. When he entered the entrance, he condensed the Supreme Blood Spirit to enter the whale-falling land on his behalf. When he felt the environment here, he knew that there must be an extreme lack of materials here. But after the Blood Spirit entered the whale-falling land, it was affected by the laws and would soon be destroyed. He could only roughly understand some of the situation. When he sensed Luo Ningxuang's location and knew that they were in extreme danger, he had no time to purchase supplies and rushed in directly. The supplies he brought could only last for a short period of time, especially the weapons, which were severely damaged in the battle and could not be repaired, and soon exploded. This is why the strong men of the Lei family basically fought the enemy with bare hands, and even rarely used their bloodline magical powers, because they could not afford that kind of consumption. When he learned that there were already thousands of strong men of the older generation who used suicidal attacks to protect everyone, Long Chen couldn't help but feel sad. If only he could be faster. But he had been on the road non-stop, and dared not delay at all, so he could only sigh helplessly. Before Long Chen went out, he gave all the pills on his body to his mother. With the support of these pills, everyone's source power would be restored a lot. After Long Zhantian took the pills, his source power recovered to about 30%, and his breath became more and more fierce. At this time, Long Zhantian's breath was comparable to that of a strong man in the first level of the emperor. The two walked forward. Long Zhantian took out the map and compared it, and soon a hill appeared in front of them. "We're here." Long Zhantian looked ahead, flicked his finger, and a gust of wind shot out. Buzz! And then a barrier appeared in front of them. When Long Zhantian's finger wind hit the barrier, a ripple was created, and then a scene that shocked Long Chen appeared. Originally, they were only 100 feet away from the barrier, but after the ripples, the two of them were already thousands of feet away from the barrier. It seemed that the barrier was pushed away, but in fact, Long Chen found that the barrier did not move, but he retreated. The most terrifying thing was that he was originally standing with his feet side by side, but now he was standing one in front of the other. Long Chen could not feel anything unusual. Everything was so natural. "Dad, this?" Long Chen was shocked. Long Zhantian looked at the barrier with a solemn expression. "This is the barrier that has trapped the Lei family for countless years. Contains the power of time. I just tested it, and the law of time was activated, which made our time flow backwards a little." Time flow backwards? Long Chen's heart was pounding. How could he resist this power? Buzz, buzz, buzz. Long Zhantian made seals with his hands, and a series of divine symbols appeared, condensing into a giant hand, slowly pressing on the barrier. With a loud bang, the giant hand exploded. Long Zhantian was shaken and his face was slightly pale. "Dad, are you okay?" Long Chen said in surprise. Long Zhantian shook his head, indicating that he was fine. Long Chen looked at the barrier, holding the dragon bone evil moon, and slashed at the barrier. With a loud bang, huge ripples erupted, time and space were distorted, and Long Chen instantly retreated 100 miles away. The dragon bone evil moon in his hand returned to his back. Even Long Zhantian, who was in front of the barrier, was pulled over. Long Chen looked unbelievable. This power was too magical. "Dad, do you think I will return to the city if my full-strength attack is rebounded by the law of time?" Long Chen asked. Long Chen found that the law of time would not hurt him, so he prepared to try his ultimate move. Long Zhantian shook his head. "Any law is relative, not absolute. This kind of power should only be limited to a very small space, and cannot bear huge cause and effect. Give it a try." Suddenly Long Zhantian moved, with a bottle in his hand, walked to the barrier, smashed the bottle hard on the barrier, and the bottle exploded. Long Zhantian retreated several steps as if teleporting. See, the person retreated, but the bottle did not return to normal. That is to say, this time law is not a complete time law, otherwise everything will return to normal. Long Zhantian said. Long Chen nodded. This is what he thought of before. If he killed a group of monsters in front of the barrier, and then attacked the barrier, time would flow backwards. Wouldn't these monsters be resurrected? If there is such a power, it would be two against the sky. But this power also made Long Chen's heart beat. If he mastered this power, wouldn't he be able to resurrect the old man, Chu Jianying, Ling Yunzi, Lu Feng'er, and the dragon blood warriors who sacrificed in Tianwu continent? But Long Zhantian's practice poured him a basin of cold water. This time law, it seems, is not omnipotent. Boom, boom. At this moment, countless figures appeared in the barrier. It turned out to be a group of monsters that were startled. Whoosh, whoosh. This group of monsters flapped their wings, ignoring the barrier and rushing out directly. Puff, puff, puff. As soon as they appeared, the millions of petals of the dragon bone evil moon directly crushed them. It's really strange. Why can they ignore this time barrier? Although I guessed that these monsters came out of the barrier. But seeing this scene with my own eyes is still very shocking. Do you think there is a possibility that this barrier is like flowing water? They are flowing downstream while we are flowing upstream? Long Chen said. Long Zhantian nodded. It is very possible, but if this is true, the Lei family has been trapped for countless years. They should be able to find an exit. You know, there were no monsters attacking at that time, and they had plenty of time to find an exit to escape. Long Chen thought about it, and it was right. The Lei family has not found an exit for so many years, which means that there is no exit here at all. If the law of time is regarded as a torrent, then the place where everyone is just a cage in the torrent. Even if you know the direction of the torrent, it is meaningless. Dad, I want to try, Long Chen said. Do it according to your ability. Long Zhantian nodded. If he was in his prime, he would also try to see if he could break the barrier with violence, because he just tried it with skills and it didn't work. Buzz! The stars around Long Chen lit up, and he punched the barrier. Boom! With a loud bang, the barrier trembled wildly, and the whole world shook for a while, but the barrier still did not break, and Long Chen was shaken away thousands of miles away. 8-star battle body open. Long Chen shouted, and directly summoned the 8-star battle body, and at the same time activated the gravity rune on his wrist. Boom! Long Chen punched the barrier, and the entire barrier was distorted on a large scale, and the earth collapsed and thousands of roars. However, such a violent force still failed to break the barrier. After the distortion, the barrier returned to its original state. Seeing this scene, Long Chen directly summoned the Chenkuan Ding. The Chenkuan Ding was still sleeping, but Long Chen did not need its help, only its body. Boom! Long Chen grabbed the Chenkuan Ding and gently hit the barrier. This time, Long Chen did not dare to smash it hard. Boom, boom! The barrier trembled wildly, and the earth kept exploding. Sure enough, in front of the Chenkuan Ding, this barrier was not enough to bounce Long Chen away. When seeing this scene, the stars around Long Chen flowed, and the power flowed through his arms, pushing the Chenkuan Ding hard. Crack, crack, crack. Fine cracks appeared on the barrier, and Long Chen couldn't help but be overjoyed. There was a chance. Chener, stop! At this moment, Long Chen heard Long Zhantian's exclamation beside him. Long Chen looked at Long Zhantian in confusion, and at this time he found that not only the barrier had cracks, but also the world behind Long Chen had cracks. If you continue to use force, our world is likely to explode first, Long Zhantian said. The world where everyone is located is short of resources and has incomplete laws, and will be unable to withstand Long Chen's power first. What should I do? At that moment, Long Chen felt a deep sense of frustration. Is there really no way out? Boom! However, the movement here alarmed countless monsters. They rushed in like a tide, passing through the barrier and killing directly in front of Long Chen. Die! Long Chen was in a very bad mood at this time. Seeing that these guys were still making trouble, especially when they regarded the barrier as nothing, Long Chen was even more angry. Puff, puff, puff. Longu Sheue slaughtered these monsters crazily. Some monsters flew backwards and hit the barrier. However, they came easily. When they wanted to go back, divine runes appeared on the barrier and shattered it. When they saw the appearance of the divine runes clearly, Long Chen and Long Zhantian shouted excitedly at the same time. So that's it. A few hours later, all the members of the Lei clan, young and old, appeared in front of the barrier. My Pajun is the key to breaking the barrier? Luo Ningxuang looked at the barrier in front of her and said in disbelief. 9 out of 10, we'll know after trying it, Long Zhantian said. Just before, they found that when these monsters hit the barrier, the divine patterns that emerged were exactly the same as the runes on the Pajun knife. The two of them directly led the entire clan here. If their guess was correct, Luo Ningxuang's Pajun was the key to opening the barrier. Now that the resources here are completely exhausted, they must find a new way out. If the gate can be opened, the entire clan must migrate. Anyway, the situation is now the worst. If they stick to this place, they will only perish. They must take a risk. Buzz! Luo Ningxuang took out the pajun, and the tip of the knife gently touched the barrier, and then a strange scene appeared. The barrier did not bounce back at her, but a huge frost door appeared. Creaky! The frost door slowly opened a gap, and everyone was immediately excited. Long Chun was the first to enter it. After finding nothing unusual, he motioned everyone to come in, and the strong men of the Lei family instantly poured into the barrier. After entering the barrier, they found that the spiritual energy here was obviously much more abundant than where they were. Although they still couldn't practice, they could barely maintain their vitality. Where to go next? Luo Ningxuang looked at Long Zhantian. Long Zhantian closed his eyes, as if he was feeling something, and finally pointed in a direction. Everyone ran in that direction together. That's the source of the power of time. We need to go upstream. That's where all the truth begins. Long Zhantian said. Why can't I sense it? Long Chun couldn't help asking. His 9-star hegemon body art had a very strong perception, but he couldn't sense the direction of the power of time. That's because your power is too violent, completely beyond your control, and various forces are pulling back and forth, and your spirit can't enter true peace. Only when you are in danger will they unite to the outside, and when there is no danger, they will not cooperate with each other. Long Zhantian smiled. Long Chun couldn't help but sigh in his heart. His father was really sharp. He had too much power in his body. He couldn't be as focused as his father, and couldn't use a power to the extreme. You only need to use the things I taught you as a reference. If you can't do it, don't force it. You should focus on your heart. Long Zhantian reminded. Why? Are you afraid that I can't do it to the extreme? Long Chun was stunned. Only by compressing the power to the extreme can the strongest power be exerted. Long Zhantian smiled and patted Long Chun on the shoulder and said, For a poor person, the money in hand is too little. Of course, you have to be thrifty and spend money on the blade. But you are different. I used to worry that you didn't have enough money, but now it seems that you can't spend all your money. I only have a pocket of money, but you have a treasure house, so my method may not be suitable for you. Long Zhantian was full of emotion. When Long Chun summoned the Sea of Stars before, he was completely shocked. Now Long Chun already has a gold mountain, but he doesn't know how to mine it yet. Fortunately, Long Chun is his son, otherwise he would be jealous to death. The power of the Star Sea is inexhaustible, so why should he be like him and be frugal everywhere? A person's ability is limited. You only need to do what you are best at. Leave the rest to others. Remember, you are not fighting alone. Long Zhantian patted Long Chen's shoulder and said meaningfully. The crowd flew forward and encountered countless monsters on the way, all of which were easily strangled by Longu Sheiyue. As more and more monsters were killed, the power of Dragon Bone Evil Moon became stronger, but its scales became softer. These petals that seemed to be light and would break at the touch could be hard or soft, offensive or defensive, and could be changed in many ways. Long Chun had never thought that Dragon Bone Evil Moon, who had always been fierce and invincible and only knew how to violently chop people, would actually transform into such a form. With Dragon Bone Evil Moon, it was the absolute defense of the entire team, and no monster could hurt them at all. The most important thing was that Dragon Bone Evil Moon fought to survive, and the more enemies it killed, the stronger it became without any consumption at all. As they moved forward, they encountered a barrier again. Luo Ningxuang opened the barrier with Broken Army. When they entered another world, they clearly felt that the spiritual energy here had become extremely rich. The environment in this world was almost exactly the same as when Long Chen first arrived in the fairyland, but of course it was completely incomparable to the current Jutian. However, for the Lei family, who had always lived in an environment with a lack of spiritual energy, this was already a fairyland. Ah! Suddenly someone cried out in pain, and Long Chun was shocked. He found that the man's skin had signs of ulceration. Long Chun was shocked and thought that the spiritual energy here was poisonous. But Long Chun carefully sensed that there was no problem with the spiritual energy here. However, at this moment the strong men of the Lei family from top to bottom and even the children also showed this phenomenon. They all screamed in fear. "Don't panic!" Long Zhantian pressed a strong man's vest with one hand and shouted loudly, "You have lived in a harsh environment for generations, causing your origin runes to enter a state of suspended death. Now that the spiritual energy here is abundant, the power of the origin has been activated, and you are about to usher in a transformation. This is a great thing. However, this sin, I'm afraid it's inevitable." Long Zhantian explored the bodies of everyone and came to the conclusion that among the strong men present, only Long Zhantian's family of 3 were not affected. Long Zhantian had this suspicion, and after investigation, it was indeed the case. Luo Ningxuang was also very panicked at first, and didn't know what happened at a loss, but Long Zhantian found the problem in an instant. Looking at Long Zhantian's calm figure, Luo Ningxuang's beautiful eyes were full of security. It was great to have him around. "Mom, you have a good eye. How did you pick such a good man?" Long Chun saw his mother looking at his father with shining eyes, and he knew that his mother was impressed by his father's handsomeness. It must be said that his father's reaction speed was really too fast. Being with him, he felt very safe. Being teased by her son, Luo Ningxuang blushed and glared at Long Chun fiercely, saying, "We just reunited. Don't force me to give you a complete childhood." Long Chun laughed out loud. He felt so happy to be scolded by his mother. However, from the tone of her voice, this mother seemed not so kind compared to the mother in Tianwu continent. The strong men of the Lei family were experiencing painful torment. Their natal runes were awakening, and they were madly absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Their skin, muscles, bones, and even souls were burning. Long Chun had experienced that kind of pain, which was not something that ordinary people could endure. However, what impressed Long Chun was that, except for some children who cried loudly at the beginning, everyone gritted their teeth and stood firm without saying a word. After crying for a few times, those children seemed to feel ashamed and held back their words. Long Chun secretly admired them. No wonder the Lei family was the spear of the purple blood family to break the zombies and the shield to protect the family. Their previous performance, using flesh and blood to fight against monsters, had already made Long Chun look at them with a new eye. Now that their bloodline has awakened, violent thunder and cold frost are spreading. They are like dormant wild beasts that have finally awakened. The spiritual energy here is relatively sufficient. Long Zhantian and Luo Ningxuang also began to recover their physical strength. When they entered the land of whales, their energy had not been replenished and had been at its lowest point. Now that Long Chun was protecting them, they also began to absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to restore their own strength. Boom! The movement here attracted countless monsters, and the monsters here were even more powerful. The weakest was also in the early stage of the Divine Emperor. There were hundreds of rare Emperor-level monsters in a wave. Fortunately, these monsters were all vegetables in front of Longu Sheue. With Longu Sheue, Long Chun was also lazy. He sat cross-legged in the void and felt the spiritual energy between heaven and earth. Long Chun found that the spiritual energy here was still different from the spiritual energy in the 9 heavens. The spiritual energy here carried an ancient and vicissitudes of life, thick and long, and was accompanied by special laws. Here, Long Chun could not sense the rejection of the power of heaven, as if this world was completely different from the 9 heavens world. But in this land of whales, how long have I walked? Why haven't I seen the body of the so-called heavenly whale? Long Chun couldn't help but feel a little confused. While protecting the crowd, Long Chun deduced the power of his 8 gates. He always felt that there was something wrong with the way he opened the 8 gates. If the star sea is regarded as the sea and the 8 gates are regarded as gates, there must be something wrong with the way he opened the 8 gates now. The way he opened the gate was to open it all the way. If he could control the power of the gate and only open a crack, then he might be able to try to open the 8 gates. In the star sea in Long Chen's Dantian, the 8 gates emerged, and billions of stars flowed. Long Chun began to communicate with the stars on the 8 gates. No, am I stupid? If the 8 gates appear at the same time, it is not necessary to open all 8 gates. At the same time, Long Chun suddenly slapped his thigh. The 8 gates in the star sea must appear at the same time, and it is impossible to summon one gate alone. Therefore, Long Chun had a preconceived concept that if the 8 gates appeared at the same time, they must be opened at the same time. But when Long Chun's mind was immersed in the Death Gate, the Star Gate trembled violently, and the power of the stars surged rapidly and was about to burst out. Long Chun was frightened and stopped immediately. Rest, life, injury, do, scenery, death, shock, and open. There are 8 gates in total, divided into 3 lucky gates, 3 evil gates, and 2 ordinary gates. The 3 lucky gates are open, restore, and life. The 3 evil gates are injury, death, and shock, and the 2 ordinary gates are do and jing. The so-called ordinary gates are neither lucky nor evil. Long Chun has not studied the 8 gates much, but he still understands this basic point. If he opens the evil gate directly, it is estimated that it will be more evil than good, so he will stop immediately. However, with this discovery, Long Chun can't help but be overjoyed. This means that the 8 gates can be opened one by one, mainly to figure out the order of opening first. Then Long Chun knocked on the door one by one, and recorded the breadth of each door, and compared them repeatedly to see which door's power is relatively friendly. After a comparison, it turned out that the power of the 3 lucky gates was relatively soft, and among the 3 lucky gates, the open gate had the least oppression on Long Chun. However, Long Chun still didn't dare to try it easily. The last time the 8 gates were opened at the same time, it cast a huge shadow on Long Chun. At that time, the 8 gates had just been opened, and the power of the stars had not yet completely rushed out. The breath alone almost crushed Long Chun. Anyway, there was no threat now. Long Chun planned to strengthen his physical body again. When the physical strength reached a new level, he would try it more cautiously. Play is play, joke is joke, don't joke with your life. For other things, Long Chun is bold and daring, but for this kind of thing he dare not be careless. Just as Long Chun slowly studied how to open the door, time passed little by little, and soon 3 days passed. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The strong men of the Lei family have completed their transformation and began to adapt to their new bodies. They are glowing all over, and the thunder and frost runes echo each other, which is quite spectacular. Long Chun suddenly woke up from his comprehension. It was the first time that Long Chun saw the power of thunder and frost appearing on one person at the same time. This was totally out of common sense. What shocked Long Chun the most was that these human emperors had amazing auras. Long Chun felt that they almost had the strength to fight against emperors alone. They were so strong that it was a bit outrageous. The thunder power of these people was different from Lei Linger's thunder power, but it also had terrifying destructive power. The most important thing was that this thunder power was their life force, which could be controlled to a subtle level. Ha! Long Zhantian was the first to wake up. At this time, his aura became deeper and deeper, and the violent blood power became vague. Even though Long Chun also had the blood of the Supreme, it was difficult to sense his fluctuations. Long Chun couldn't help but sigh. Dad was the real monster. He was afraid that he would never be able to condense the supreme blood to such a level in his life. When Long Zhantian taught him, he hoped that one day he could compress his power to the extreme. In this way, he could use the least power to gain the greatest benefit and defeat all methods with one method. Long Chun realized today that to achieve this, it was not enough to just practice hard, but also required super talent. Long Chun had amazing talent and could endure hardships, but compared to Long Zhantian he was too aggressive. And Long Zhantian had experienced those years of imprisonment, which was a blessing in disguise. His spiritual realm had reached an extreme, so he could use the supreme blood to the extreme. It's really painful to be with you. I almost died of frustration in this godforsaken place. Ling Long Blood Demon, who had been silent all the time, finally spoke. Following Long Zhantian made it suffer a lot of grievances. The demon species of the Chaos era had an immortal body, but when it came here its cultivation was still reduced. Felt like it was going crazy. Now it can finally take a breath and immediately complained. Being besieged by a group of monsters, the Ling Long Blood Demon clan was about to lose face. Long Zhantian smiled slightly and let Linglong Blood Demon complain. He knew that this arrogant guy was really uncomfortable. Some time ago, its original power was severely depleted, and it had to shrink its body to survive. This was a shame for it. Buzz! At this moment, a silver-white dragon woke up. This was the Frost Dragon, the mount of Long Chen's mother. Before, its frost power was almost exhausted, and it could only rely on its physical body to fight monsters. Now it can finally eat a full meal. The runes on its body kept flashing, and the cold air kept condensing. It was like a proud frost queen, looking down on the whole world. Long Chun looked at Linglong Blood Demon, and then at the Frost Dragon. Both of them were at the level of human emperor, but they did not transform. Linglong and Frost are both chaos alien species. They can resist the laws of the Nine Heavens world and do not need to transform. Moreover, forcibly transforming will only hurt their original divine runes, so they will not appear in human form. Seeing Long Chen's doubts, Long Zhantian explained, "Boy, is it because I beat you before, and you feel unconvinced, and now you think that we are all in the human emperor realm, and now it's time for revenge?" Linglong Blood Demon stared at Long Chun with his big eyes. "Damn, you can see my idea?" Long Chun did have this idea, but as his father's contract partner, Long Chun didn't dare to be rude to him, and said shyly, "Senior, what are you talking about? How could I have that idea? I am an honest man." But in his heart he thought at this level it shouldn't be a problem to beat him. Another day passed, and everyone had completed the transformation and had adapted. At this time, the Lei family's strongmen were shockingly strong. "Wait!" Long Chen's heart suddenly beat wildly. He suddenly noticed that at some point, everyone here had the Emperor's aura. Could this all be related to the Sky Whale? Long Chen suddenly thought of a possibility that he couldn't believe.